Howdy there, Young and Silver Mongoose here, back again for another episode of Gaming Favorites. And what that is basically I sit down with somebody and talk about something that's, something that they really love in gaming, whether it's a specific system or a company or a specific aspect of gaming. And today, my guest is ONLYUSEmeFEET from YouTube. How are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great.
Excellent. And today, what we're going to be talking about is the GameCube, which I think is a good topic because it doesn't get a lot of love. Um,
Yeah, seriously. I'm so surprised that people do not talk about this awesome console. I really love the GameCube.
yeah, it was just so far behind the other systems, like sale wise. I don't have exact numbers in front of me, but I know it was pitiful. I mean, and it I
Yeah.
think it did worse than the 64, didn't it?
Yeah, I believe so. If you compare like how much everything sold, yeah, I think it did the worst out of all of them. Except
Mm-hmm.
the Dreamcast. That was in that gen, I guess. But I always kind of group the sales of that with, I don't know. That's different.
Yeah, yeah. Well, with only like 2 years, not really
Yeah,
a fair comparison. But
right.
so what I wanted to ask you right off the bat here was, I wanted to ask you really with what your, maybe not your first experience, but maybe your early experiences with the GameCube. If you remember like the hype leading up to it, or I don't know if you were reading into it or waiting to pick yours up on launch day or something. And if you just want to just tell me like your early experiences with the GameCube.
Yeah, sure. Mine's pretty interesting actually. Is I really wanted a GameCube and I was going to get one probably Christmas of 2001 when it came out. But what's funny is my brother actually ninjaed me and getting one and he pre-ordered one at launch and like a week before it came out and I was really well, I wasn't mad at him because we got a GameCube. That was awesome, but I kind of wanted to get one. But anyways, we got that and he got on the same day he got Wave Race and Luigi's Mansion, I believe. And I didn't play either much. I don't know why. It's just I think I was still having a blast with Pokemon Stadium too.
I haven't played that one actually. I have the
Oh, really?
first one,
Pretty good.
but and I like the first one a lot, but I think the second one
Yeah.
came out pretty late, right, on the 64's
Yeah,
lifetime.
yeah, yeah, that's what I mean. I was playing it and the GameCube was coming out, so yeah, it was pretty late.
Mm-hmm. So my experience is pretty different. We were always really far behind as far as buying consoles went. My parents
Yeah,
would always just buy it used, like a couple years down the road from some friend or something, and
yeah.
like we never anticipated anything. Like I never was like, oh, I can't wait till the next generation of systems. Oh, check out these new graphics. I was like, I didn't even sometimes know about a system till it like showed up like in my hands. I did know the GameCube existed. Um, my older brother got this was around near the end of the 64, I guess, or like probably
Yeah.
2000 to 2002. My brother ended up getting a lot new friends,
Oh,
and
cool.
all his friends were like, I guess you'd classify them as geeks and nerds, and they were super
Awesome.
into like keeping up with the news and stuff, and they were starting to get like really excited for the next generation. And it was the first time that because they got the GameCube and they brought it over to our house, and they were talking about how awesome it was, and every time a new game was coming out, they talk about it. So I kind of got all this stuff from from them, from sitting in the on the sidelines there. And this was really whenever I first started getting excited about systems and games and things like that, because
Yeah,
now they were somewhat accessible to me through my brother's friends. But
right.
and their excitement really rubbed off on me, and I think that's partially why I get excited about these sort of things today, even though I usually don't like buy stuff on launch date or anything, and I am still a little bit behind on a lot of games. I don't keep up with usually especially in
Yeah.
the gaming community on YouTube. A game comes out and everyone talks about it for like a week, and then I get it like 2 years later, and I feel like really left out. But
Yeah.
the GameCube for
Yeah.
me was really it was like the first system that I really got excited about, and I don't think we ended up getting one in our house until about probably 2002 or 2003. And my brother bought one because he was the only one out of us that had a job. so he bought the GameCube. And so I ended up watching him and his friends play a lot of games. Like I remember watching them play Wind Waker, like through the entire thing, and like Sonic Adventure 2 and a few other games. And then eventually he wanted the Platinum GameCube. I don't know if you remember when those came out.
Oh yeah, I remember those.
For
Yeah,
some reason, they were a big deal. Um,
yeah. It was bundled with Melee, I think, although he probably wouldn't care about that. But I thought it was bundled with like Melee or a promotional movie or something.
um, I think it was one of those ones where it was you could like choose one of like three or four games or something.
Ah, right. Yeah, that's
Um,
probably it.
I think he probably ended up getting. I don't remember what he ended up getting.
I think Metroid Prime was in that, although I think that was pretty cheap by 2003.
Yeah. Either way, he ended up buying himself the Platinum GameCube, and part of
Yeah,
his justification for buying that was like, "Oh, well, I'm going to give away my other GameCube to you," and I was like, "Works for me." So I ended up
that's
getting
awesome.
a GameCube for I think it was my birthday from him. So I got his used GameCube, and
Oh,
then
that's awesome.
when my little brother graduated from I think elementary school or high school or something, he ended up getting a load of money. And he decided to go buy himself a GameCube. So at this point in our house, within like a 10 or 20-meter radius, there were three GameCubes going, sometimes all at once. So
Wow, that's cool.
my brother would be playing like Fire Emblem, and my older brother would be playing like, uh, what did he like playing? He would be playing like Ikaruga, and then I would be playing like Animal Crossing or something, like all at once. We'd all just be in our own rooms, like with our doors closed, like totally shutting out the world and playing our GameCube. So it was a really, really big deal in our house. We absolutely loved the GameCube.
Yeah, yeah, that totally. That was huge at my house as well. Although we only had one, we almost always played multiplayer games on it, so it was a similar experience. Everyone crowding around the GameCube or playing GameCube.
Yeah. And part of it was that like it was just such an amazing like multiplayer console. I mean, not only did
Oh, totally.
like the PS2 like still only had two controller ports. Um,
Yeah, that sucked.
and I
That
don't know if
was
you've ever tried like using those multi taps, but
no, I never bought one.
some games they really I remember trying to play like Time Splitters 2 at a friend's house with the multi-tap, and it just kept like
Yeah.
knocking out one of the players, and then we had to like reset the system, and they can be somewhat finicky depending on the game.
Yeah,
um,
they just act like a controller, right? You just plug it into the second port and it
yeah.
adds three or something. Yeah, I can see how maybe that could get screwed up really easy.
Hmm. And like also in our household anyways, because there were I have three siblings, so
Yeah.
there's four of us to play games, so obviously we're going to be getting a system that has four controller ports. It just makes sense.
Yeah.
And anytime his friends would come over, they'd always bring like Melee, and like that was huge up until
Oh,
the
totally.
day Brawl came out. That was like
Totally.
the biggest
Yeah.
game for what, like 5 years.
Yeah, I think people still prefer it competitively than Brawl, but yeah, I think it's still huge. This is what
Hmm.
I'm trying to say. Big game.
Yeah.
That that was the best-selling game too. I just read this. It sold 4 million copies, and that was the best-selling game. Which compared to some of the stuff that sold on Wii, I was like, wow.
Hmm. Well,
Uh,
everybody pretty much had a copy. I mean, if you
yeah,
got a GameCube, you like Zelda, who cares? Mario, who cares? You gotta get Melee, because anytime, anytime I went over to a friend's house for like a birthday party or something,
yeah,
GameCube in tow with Melee.
yep. And before that, it was Smash Brothers with N64, then probably Brawl with the Wii. It's just crazy. People
Hmm.
always play those.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all psychological with the GameCube with it having a handle, but it always felt more portable. Even
Yeah,
though it's not really like the smallest system, it always felt like a very portable system that you could just take over to your friend's house and then play games with.
yeah, and especially with like the Wavebird, which is a really cool accessory, by the way. That I always remember syncing up like three Wavebirds with various frequencies. That was always interesting.
Yeah, so long as no one turned on the microwave.
Yeah, yeah, the
Because
Wavebird was fun.
I remember, because I think that was the first controller that used radio waves, right?
I believe so.
Because I
I
think
mean, the first commercial one, yeah,
yeah, because I
definitely.
think previously they all used like infrared,
Yeah,
which were terrible. Because like you
yeah,
had to like you couldn't even be like inside like the sunlight, direct sunlight, and your controllers wouldn't work.
yeah.
But yeah, I remember my brother got a Wavebird and he thought it was the coolest thing ever. Even though we were still sitting close enough to use controllers, he thought it was cooler. And then we'd be like playing a game and somebody would go turn on the microwave upstairs. Or sometimes actually, if we turned on the laundry, like started doing laundry, it would knock out the Wavebird, which to me does not make any sense.
Wow, that is crazy. I used to always play GameCube in a basement, so that was never really an issue for me. But thanks for the heads up. I'll make sure that that doesn't happen now. That's never happened, but I'm sure that was a common problem. That I mean, it just sounds like, yeah,
It's another excuse just not to make laundry, not to do laundry.
right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And I think one thing I wanted to mention was that like other than like maybe the controllers, um, like the GameCube is fairly plain as far as Nintendo consoles go. Like
Yeah, it looks really well. The NES was about as plain as it gets, and
I don't mean look wise, but I mean it was pretty much um, like what I mean is like the Super Nintendo and the Genesis are very different
yeah,
systems. Mostly because they came out at different times, but still they were very different. And the 64 and the PS1, very different systems.
yeah,
I mean, they use different technology, and the games, even the same game running on both systems, could look very, very different.
right. Yeah,
With anti-aliasing and stuff like that.
yeah,
And the GameCube, it seems probably like Nintendo's system that was the most like other systems. It seemed like fairly, vanilla compared to the differences like the Wii and this 360. There's huge difference there. Even like the Master
right.
System and the NES, the color palettes were like completely different. The
Yeah,
sound chips are completely different.
right.
But
I totally agree with you there. Like the ports, I think, oh gosh, I don't want to start this war, but I think the GameCube had like outputs and everything. I think it definitely beat the PS2 on like ports video signal wise. I think the Xbox could do 480p or something. It had something that the GameCube couldn't do, or more GameCube games had 480p, but I don't know. I think the GameCube could do the best, or maybe it was comparable to the Xbox. But I remember the PS2 being a bit behind in that.
I've heard a lot of really like I've heard that from different people that each system was the strongest. Like I've heard people
Yeah,
say the Xbox and the GameCube and the PS2, but I think mostly the consensus what I'm getting from some people and some people who I asked about who like are tech savvy, they said that
yeah,
the Xbox is most powerful, and
yeah.
then the GameCube, though technically not as powerful on paper, was used better.
Right. Yeah, the resources were used better. Or probably Xbox got a lot of PC ports, so they
Mm-hmm.
probably weren't optimized like they should have been. That's probably what happened, I imagine.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but a lot
Yeah,
of games did look a lot better on the GameCube, and part of the reason for that was that like they started on the GameCube,
yeah,
like any of the Capcom 5. So
yeah. Or
um,
Capcom. What, it ended up being the three, I think. But yeah,
oh, it ended up being one.
one,
Yeah, actually,
really.
because
I
it
thought
was
uh I thought PM03 and Beautiful Joe were part of that
well. Oh
initiative.
yeah, yeah. The Capcom 5 was that one that got canceled that no one cared about.
Oh,
Uh,
Dead Phoenix. Okay, there was only one. Okay, I
yeah,
thought it was
Killer
I just
7, Product Number 3, Beautiful Joe, and Resident Evil 4. And for those that don't know, who are listening and saying, what the heck are you guys talking about? Capcom originally said that they were going to release 5 exclusive titles for the GameCube that were going to be awesome, and it was going to, boost the GameCube sales, and it was really was supposed to basically save the GameCube because Capcom, I mean, still a big name, but in last gen they did a lot of fantastic titles, and
oh yeah.
um, so they said, yeah, Killer 7, Product Number 3, Beautiful Joe, Resident Evil 4, which is probably the highest profile one, and
Yeah.
then um,
Dead Phoenix.
Dead Phoenix. Yeah, were supposed to come out exclusively for the GameCube, and Killer 7 ended up not being exclusive. Beautiful Joe not exclusive. Resident Evil 4 not exclusive. Dead Phoenix canceled, and the only one that was ended up being exclusive was product number three, which is probably
The worst.
the worst of the bunch.
Yeah.
But like all those games, like Beautiful Joe, like on the PS2, has like frame rate issues, and
Yeah.
Resident Evil 4 in the PS2, they took out
Oh,
a lot of
geez.
lighting and water effects.
Yeah, that doesn't look very good on PS2
Um,
at all.
like personally, I'm not a graphics person, but I think this is worth mentioning. And
Yeah.
some other games I know, Beyond Good and Evil and the first Prince of Persia, those were originally being developed for the GameCube, so they look better on that system. And all these games probably were going to be exclusive, but they just, I mean, you can't blame them. They look at the sales and they look at the GameCube compared to the PS2. Like PS2 is miles ahead, Xbox miles ahead of GameCube
Yeah.
sale wise, so they'd be stupid to release it on only the GameCube. So
Yeah.
you can't blame them, but
Yeah, totally. I think I mean as long looking back on it, as long as those games got out to as many people as possible, I'm happy. Like
mm-hmm.
honestly.
I think honestly what they should have done though is like announced later on that they were coming out, because I
Yeah.
think Resident Evil 4, for example, I think that came out um, like maybe 8 or 9 months after the GameCube one. It came out on PS2, but they ended up saying that like before the GameCube version even came out.
Yeah.
Like they said,
Yeah, that was crazy.
yeah, if you have a PS2, just wait about 9 months and you can have your version. So then nobody
Yeah.
bought GameCubes just to play that game, and they
Right.
definitely would have,
Yeah,
because
totally.
Resident Evil 4 is one of the like widely renowned as one of the best Resident Evil games, one of the best GameCube games, one of the best games of last generation.
Yeah.
So it definitely would have pushed sales, even if they would have waited like 3 or 4 months and said, okay, in another 3 months you'll be able to get it on PS2, surprise. But no, right off the bat, just go
Yep.
ahead and just wait. You'll get your PS2 version later.
Yeah,
And
no, that was kind of a stinky move. It did
mm-hmm.
make a Shinji Mikami leave, which I don't know. Like people are mad about that, and I can totally see why. But I think he's made some really good games this gen. With he's at Platinum Games now. That whole Clover situation, like when that happened, I remember, and I was like really like sad that they all left. But now that they're Platinum, they're just that turned out really well, I think.
Was that the guy that said he was going to kill himself if Resident
Yeah,
Evil came?
Shinji Mikami. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
he because at this time a couple of the Capcom 5 already made it onto other systems, and I think it was with Resident Evil 4 where he promised this will not come out on other systems. If it does, I will commit suicide.
Yeah, yeah, he said that. But I'm glad he didn't because he made Vanquish, and that is a very good game. If you haven't played it, current gen, it's good.
Was that the one that some people were saying like its roots are PNO3, or is that completely different?
I mean, it has robots, so there's probably something from that game that's in Vanquish. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's my favorite game this gen, honestly. It's just a great game. Just really action packed. It's not horror at all, but it's just really good. It's really Mikami at his finest.
Oh, okay. I
Uh,
like I don't know anything about it, so I can't really comment on it. But
yeah.
so did you play all the Capcom 5 or the four of
Um,
them? I guess.
no, I have played half of Resident Evil 4, which I know someone's going to like come to my house and kill me now because I said that. But no, not really. I was really back then. I had Nintendo blinders full on, and I just if it wasn't Nintendo made by Nintendo, I just didn't really play it.
Oh, really?
So I need to go back and get them. I picked up Killer 7 over the summer, and I meant to play through it, but I didn't, sadly. But I need to play through all of those. They all look great.
I
Like
yeah
even the worst one seems pretty good, which is pretty cool.
yeah. Beautiful Joe is a fantastic game. It's so stylish, and for those that don't know, it's a cell shaded, side-scrolling beat 'em up.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
the whole premise is that you're kind of inside a movie, so eventually you get skills like slow mo and then speed up and probably pausing and things like that later on. And it's so stylish and so fantastic, and it's really challenging near the end. It's so hard.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I remember playing the demo of that when my buddy got a GameCube. There was some demo disc, and that demo I played a lot of times, and it took me 10 hours to beat it. And I was like, oh, It took me every demo on that disc I could beat the first time. That demo probably took me about 3 times before I actually beat it. So that's definitely a challenging game.
Was that the one with I think it
Billy
also had,
Hatcher
yeah, Billy Hatcher on there, yeah, and then I
and
think
Soul Calibur 2.
and Siphon Filter or something,
That's
or
PS2. I
or
think it had, huh?
that's not the game. I'm thinking of the Tom Clancy one. What is it?
Oh, Splinter Cell. Yeah,
Splinter Cell.
maybe.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah, that might have been on there.
Yeah, I remember that disc, and that is the disc that sold my brother on like three of the games on it. Um,
Yeah, that's probably my favorite demo disc of all time.
it's
That's
really
just
good.
good.
And product number three, I actually did play through, and it's clearly not finished.
Oh, it isn't that good?
It's no, it's. I really like the concept. Now, the concept is basically you're a girl who it's more defensive based. So you shoot from your hands and you use dance moves to do special attacks, and you're supposed to be doing a lot of dodging, which that part is good. But then basically the level design is maybe it's because I don't know if they were being really unimaginative or it's, I think it's because partially because it was rushed anyways, where most of the levels are just white hallways,
Oh, that
and
sucks.
that's really what brought it down. And what actually sucks for me as well is that you shoot by tapping A, and you have to shoot a lot, and you have to shoot fast. So basically, you're sitting there through the entire
Oh,
game,
wow.
tap 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 tap. And I'm not one of those people that can press like A super 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 fast. So I ended up suffering. Um,
Turbo controller.
I know. I keep looking for a GameCube Turbo controller. I haven't seen one in like 3 years. I keep waiting so I can play through Piano 3 again. But
Yeah, I got one somewhere a long time ago, but I don't know. Just look on eBay or something. I have no idea where to pick up those now.
I
So,
used to have one and ended up breaking. Those things always end up
oh,
breaking.
oh yeah, third-party controllers.
Yeah.
Last gen. I think every one of mine screwed up somehow. Like
Yeah.
they suck.
And the memory cards too. Oh my god. People
Oh God,
never buy a third party memory card.
definitely. Yeah, I never have bought one because I've heard the horror stories and I couldn't stand losing like an Animal Crossing save data or something.
Well, funny story.
Oh man.
I had a orange hip gear memory card,
Yeah.
and I was like, wow, it's like half the price of this GameCube one. Why wouldn't I get it? Being all
Oh,
young and naive. And
yeah.
so I ended up getting this memory card, and one day my brother was using it. I wasn't there, or else I would have stopped him. But you know, every now and then, when you plug in a memory card, it'll say, "Oh, it's corrupted. You need to
Yeah.
format this." All you have to do is turn it off. Any system, turn it off and turn it back on. It'll probably be fine. And he
Yeah.
clicked yes, and he formatted my memory card, and I
Oh,
had Harvest Moon on there. I had
that's a,
Super Mario Sunshine.
oh man.
I had probably about half my GameCube games were on there. Um,
That
yeah,
sucks,
I had
dude.
like Sonic Gems with all the unlockable, or Sonic Mega Collection with all the not Mega Collection, or was it Mega Collection?
I mean, it was either Mega Collection or Gems. I don't
Yeah,
know
I
which
had
one
both
you
of
would
those
have
with
had.
like most of the unlockables. I had Smash
Yeah.
Brothers on there, Mario Kart, all that just gone.
Oh, that sucks. I actually, back in the day, it was pretty cool. I have a twin sister, and she really liked the GameCube as well. So every weekend, I don't know if we just wanted to make sure we always had the save data or what, but we would make sure all of our save data for like Mario Kart, we like shared everything that we could. Like every save data was on both memory cards up to date. It was
Mm-hmm.
pretty crazy, but that really worked. I mean, we never lost save data, but we had misplaced memory cards before, so that's worked out really well over the years.
Yeah, I got a couple things back. Like I got
Yeah,
like I just took my brother's melee file because like they were essentially the same file anyways, and I took his Mario Kart because once you've unlocked all the characters, like I don't care about time trials or anything. So,
yeah, me neither.
but but Harvest Moon
Oh, yeah, that one sucks because that's
erased my
I've never
child.
played any.
He erased my
Oh,
child.
I've never played any, but I know those are really time consuming.
Mm-hmm. And then also Mario Sunshine was on there as well. And I
Uh,
don't know about you, but I found Sunshine really difficult.
Yeah, I think that's like the hardest Mario game. No, I mean, yeah, I'm not gonna finish that sentence, but I think that's one of the hardest Nintendo made 3D Mario games. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just because I wasn't really good at those 3D Mario games because I played a little bit of 64 Mario 64 back in the day, but I like only like a couple levels. So I
Yeah.
wasn't used to the whole 3D Mario thing with backflips and wall jumps and all that. So maybe that's why I wasn't too good at
Yeah.
it. Maybe if I went back today after playing like Galaxy and playing through it, I'd be better. But I found it so difficult, especially some of the levels. I remember this one where you had to go on a leaf, which was on like a river. It was like one of those bonus
Yeah.
levels, and then you had to like use your hydro cannon to spray to shoot yourself in certain directions
Yeah,
down
I
like this
remember that
huge
level.
river. And if you got
Yeah.
touched the sides or touched anything, you would die. And I ended up just like flipping out on that level. I was like, I'm so sick of this. And I didn't throw
Yeah, I've
anything,
never
but
beat that. I've never beat that game. I need to go back. My roommate's pushing me constantly to beat that game, so it'll happen sometime. But yeah,
it's
I
so good.
remember. Yeah, yeah, I remember just not. I don't know. Again, I probably just went back to Melee. That seems like my answer to everything. Like I'd play a game for a couple weeks and it'd be like, whoop, back to Melee.
Who did you play in Melee?
Oh, main. I played Samus a lot, and towards the end of the GameCube's life, I changed to Marth because I really liked his A moves a lot more, like just beating people up. So Samus and Marth, I guess. Who did he play?
I played primarily Sheik, but
Oh,
near
that's
the
cool.
near the end, well, first, like kind of near the middle of my Melee lifetime, I started using Peach because um, people hated being beat up by like Peach, who's like the girliest character in that game. You know, the big pink
Yeah.
dress, and she's sweet, and throw
Yes.
your little turnips at her, and you at people and stuff. So people like I started playing her as a joke because
Yeah.
I was, despite the fact that I like never played as her, I was still better than, the person who played, a couple times a year at a party. So
Yeah.
getting beat up by Peach, especially some guys, for some reason took offense to that. So that's why I did that. And but near the end, I started getting kind of good at her. So
Yeah.
um, so yeah, I used Sheik, and then uh, I used Peach, and then I used Zelda for like the last like couple weeks of Melee because we had a tournament at my school,
Oh,
and
cool.
um, I didn't want to go uh, Sheik versus there were other people in the tournament that are also playing as Sheik,
Yeah.
and everybody knew I played as Sheik, so people were like preparing to, people were like psyching each other out, like, oh, I'm gonna learn how to play against that character and everything. So I didn't tell
Yeah.
anybody, and then for like a couple weeks I played as Zelda, and then people were like, nobody knew how to like counter Zelda or anything because nobody ever
Well,
played her. So I did not win the tournament because I was in sudden death versus Dr. Mario, and he kept
uh,
running away from me,
oh,
and
that sucks.
and a bomb like spawned like in my face and killed me.
Oh, wow. Good. In those tournaments or how you played, could you like switch the Sheik at any time, or was that like banned or frowned upon? No, none of my friends ever really cared, but you mained her, so I don't know if that was something or not.
Um, it usually wasn't an issue. Like I only played like one or two tournaments. Usually it was just for fun.
Yeah,
Uh, so yeah, I usually just ended up waiting till like the other people were fighting in the corner, or if it was one on one, until I killed them with Zelda or something, and then just switch. But if you used Sheik at the beginning, like it would continue from the last match. So I just
yeah,
because I was winning, I just stayed in, and then I could just be Sheik from the beginning.
yeah, yeah. Sheik's a really cool character. I
Mm-hmm.
really like. Is she the fastest character in that game, or
It's I don't know. It might be her or maybe
Pikachu?
Fox or Captain Falcon's pretty fast in Melee too, isn't he?
I think so. I think Pikachu. No, I don't think Pikachu is the fastest. I don't know who's the fastest in that game.
I just I can't play it anymore. I really can't. Can't play Melee after playing Brawl,
Yeah,
where you jump and it's like you're in space. You go
Yeah.
back to playing melee and like you get hit off the edge, you just sink like freaking 20-ton brick, just straight down and you're dead. My reaction time isn't good enough. It's way too fast, way too heavy. I can't do it anymore.
Yeah. It's my favorite in the series, but jumping between Brawl and Melee, I did that for a little while, and that was hard. That was
Mm-hmm.
really hard.
Mm-hmm.
Totally different games, and they're both fun in their own way, but I'll always prefer Melee. That's probably my favorite out of that trilogy.
It's such a good game. Like when you look at, and it was a launch title too. Um,
Yeah.
it was like you compare it to the original one. It's it leaps and bounds beyond in so many ways, and it's so well crafted. And I love the art style in that as well. How they made all the
Yeah.
characters look, and I think that like my only complaint probably with Melee is the double characters. Like
Oh yeah, like Pichu and Dr. Mario and Young Link and all of them. Yeah, they were totally unnecessary. I
yeah,
liked Falco though. Like Falco was pretty much I don't know what I liked about him, but I thought he was kind of awesome.
I just like I like them. Like I liked Dr. Mario and I like Pichu, but I would have been nice if
Yeah.
they would have just made them a little bit different.
Yeah, they were Pichu was just Pikachu, but he sucked.
Yeah, he hurt himself.
Yeah, I mean it was just a Pikachu that hurt himself and had could take less damage.
Yeah, but like Young Link, like I love Young Link because my favorite game is Majora's Mask. So I was like, oh
Yeah.
sweet, I get
Oh,
to play
that's
as
that's my favorite too.
as Majora's Mask Link, but
Yeah.
he's pretty much the same as Link,
Like
so
all,
it was a little bit disappointing. I think the
yeah.
biggest difference is just a little bit faster, and doesn't he have different arrows?
He has fire arrows, and then
Right.
I think his shield can't reflect as much. Like Link's shield in that game, he can duck, and I think he can absorb anything really with that. But
Yeah.
young Link's shield, I think, can be penetrated by a lot more things, or
Mm-hmm.
everything maybe.
Or oh, he can normal Link wall jump? I don't think so, eh?
No, yeah, I remember that target test. Wow, I don't
Yeah,
know why, but
that's what made me think of as the target test.
it took me forever to do that for some reason. I
Mm-hmm.
remember it took me probably 20 minutes, which for a target test was a really long time.
Mm-hmm. Or the home run contest was nice too. I love the home run contest.
Yeah, that was actually my last level I unlocked was getting Yoshi's home run far enough to get his retro stage.
I remember
Was
doing that for so long, like
yeah,
doing Yoshi's because if you had it just at the right time, I think he was the character that you could get the farthest with without doing anything crazy.
yeah, you just lightly jumped and then you did down A,
Mm-hmm.
I think repeatedly, and then home run. I didn't even realize the home run bat was there for like the first week I played that. That's pretty funny.
You're just like punching them,
I used Captain Falcon's Falcon Punch.
right?
That was yeah.
Oh, that was another one of the doubled characters, the Ganon.
Yeah, I'm surprised they made Ganon so like they could have really done something awesome with Ganon, I feel. His
Mm-hmm.
sword's in the code of that game, isn't it? Like
I'm
with an
not
action
sure.
replay. I thought you could get his sword with an action replay. Like it wouldn't do anything. It's just like on his back or something. But that would
I
have been
don't know.
cool if they made him
I
like
never
height.
kept up with all the Smash Brothers like rumors and decoding
Yeah,
and all that stuff. With it's just too much. And plus
yeah.
I don't know what to believe.
Oh, speaking of rumors, this one was really popular. Did you ever hear of the Sonic and Tails rumor? Or probably not.
Um, I mean, I heard of it. I didn't believe it for a second.
Yeah, I don't know why, but we actually tried it. It's met back in like 2001 or whatever. It was get 25 kills with Pikachu and what was it? And Cruel Melee. There we go. And that was hard, but we did it, and of course nothing unlocked, and you're like raging.
Crew Melee was intense. Oh
Yeah,
my
I don't even
god.
know how we did it. I think we spammed Pikachu's lightning,
Yeah, the only
something.
characters you can do anything good with is like the ones you can spam, like like Zelda or Fox or people with shields. It's basically the only people you can do it with.
Yeah,
But
yeah, that was hard.
did you ever do the master hand glitch that was discovered?
Yes, my buddy told me about that. I thought he was fooling me out first because I saw a ton of rumors for the original. But yeah, I've
Hmm.
done that and it's pretty cool. Except the game always likes to freeze on me, but it's cool.
Yeah, I haven't done it myself, but um, for I,
Like twice.
for those that don't know, I have to keep saying that because I keep forgetting that there's going to be people listening to this and they may not know what the heck we're talking about.
Yeah,
There was like rumors for like years and years that you could play Master Hand, which is the final boss, which is just a huge hand. You could play him in the game, and nothing ever came from it. I think last year, maybe the year before, somebody discovered how to actually not unlock him, but play as him glitch wise. Basically, you trick the game into um, trying to load a character or trying to load no character. So it just goes to
yeah,
the first character inside the character roster, which was Master Hand. So then he can play as
yeah,
Master Hand, but the game always freezes because it's not a like an unlockable character. It's just a glitch.
yeah, yeah. That's a cool glitch. I saw that on a Pop Fiction, which I always watch like the day of release. Some show on game trailers. That's what I've heard about it. If after my friend, like right after my friend told me, he showed me that, and I'm like, oh, cool.
Yeah, I told my brother because I didn't have my GameCube at the time, and he had his, and I was like, "Oh, you can play as Master Hand." He's like, "Sure, you can." I was like, "No, really, I swear, this time it's real." After hearing all the rumors, so like I was saying earlier, with the GameCube being like so, um, on the outside it looks fairly plain, but if you really
Right.
think about like its peripherals, it did quite a
Yeah.
few things. Like the Game Boy Player is like
Oh,
amazing
yes, that was the best. I love that so much.
because with that you have access. It's an attachment you attach to the bottom of your GameCube, and you have access to play pretty much any Game Boy Advance or earlier games. So Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance. I don't know how many games there are there. Probably thousands. Um,
Yeah, probably at least 2,500.
it,
More than that, I guess, if you count imports and exclusives and
yeah,
yeah.
and it's honestly worth just getting like a GameCube just for the Game Boy Player.
Yeah, like if you have a Wii, I mean, like one that can play GameCube games, of course. I still think it's worth picking up a GameCube and a GameCube Game Boy player just to do that.
Yeah.
It's great. And some games, I think, some Game Boy Advance games, I mean, I believe I don't know, they advertised Game Boy Player, but I don't know, did they actually do anything when they were plugged into the GameCube?
Mm, I don't think so. I know there were a couple that they like put in special like color settings. Like I know like Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, like in the settings you can turn it to like TV1 or TV2, which changes the
Uh,
colors a little bit. But I don't know. I have a feeling like that. I remember some, like maybe some were more optimized, like that they synced up the rumble or something. Like I think Drill Dozer did that, didn't it?
I've never owned it, so I'm not sure.
Hmm.
I thought Mario 3 did something because that's like the one game I played it a lot, but I remember it always said Game Boy Player, and it would boot up, and yeah.
Oh, um,
Maybe you could do a two-player locally with that or something. I don't know.
hmm.
Like so many.
I think the deal with that was that um, you could use the e-reader with it and then play it on your TV at the same time and you could get levels and I don't know.
Maybe I'm a wiki-ing that to see Rumble enabled. Hold on. Okay. The Game Boy Player. This is from Wikipedia, by the way. So if I'm wrong, don't kill me. Okay. So it says these games have a Rumble feature. It's not that many. Drill Dozer, Mario and Luigi, Superstore Sega. I'm gonna have to try that one. Pokemon Pinball. That's pretty cool. Um, two Japanese games that. Well, I'll say one. Shikaku. Butchering of the Japanese language right here. Shikakui Tama wo Maruku Suro Advance Kokugo Sansu Rika Shakai. Whatever that is. Uh, there's another Japanese one, and Mario 3 all had Rumble in them.
Oh, yeah, that's probably the only difference.
So yeah, I think that's it. But that's still cool that they did that
Mhm.
for people that owned it.
Yeah, not a
That
lot of people owned it back in the day, but now it's a pretty sought after item.
yeah, I think it's I actually have the disc, which I sold all my GameCube stuff, but I still have the disc to that, which I'm trying to figure out how I actually sold it without the disc.
You
But and I
sold
think
all your GameCube stuff.
well, no, my bad. Like my GameCube and the Game Boy player, like things that were specific to the GameCube, which I think that's it. So that's not that much, never mind. But yeah, yeah, I sold that, but I still have the disc, which I think that runs a lot more than the Game Boy player. So it's not that hard. I'll rebuy one soon.
Mm-hmm.
Is that disc I think is like $60.
Really?
I thought so.
I
Eh,
I think you can get a Game Boy player for like maybe 30 with the disc.
oh, with the disc, I thought that was just the I don't know.
Hmm.
Is the disc like it didn't come in like a standard Game Boy case. It came in like a really tiny case. So I think a lot of them got lost.
The disc for the Game Boy player.
Yeah.
Yeah, it came in like a Japanese GameCube package, which is smaller. Um, I don't know why, but they came in that. And yeah, a lot of times whenever you buy a Game Boy player, you do need that disc. So uh,
Yeah, anyone that's buying one, you need that. Yeah, okay. The prices on eBay are really weird. I see a lot of bundles for like $40, so I guess the disc is really only worth like 10 to $15, so that's not bad. Not as
hmm
bad as I thought. But yeah, that's probably my favorite accessory for the GameCube, but there's a lot more to
yeah, I
that.
have I have two Game Boy players because I got one for myself, and
Yeah.
then I wanted to play some. Well, mostly I wanted to play Donkey Konga 3, which
Oh yeah.
is a Japanese exclusive, and I didn't
Mm,
want to go through like modding my Wii or like playing an emulator or something. And so I
right.
just like it was kind of like in the back of my mind, oh, maybe someday I'll get a Japanese GameCube, haha. And then I had a friend who went to Japan, and I got a package one day, and he's like, "Here, I bought you a GameCube," and I was like, "Sweet." So I have,
Cool.
and it had a Game Boy player attached. So I have a Japanese Game Boy player in my Japanese GameCube, and there's no region lock on Game Boy, so it plays all Game Boy games just fine,
Yeah.
which is
Is
cool.
that was that built into the GameCube or did it like come bundled with it or did he just buy it?
Um, it came with it. I don't think it was built in, but it has like these weird like feet on it. That
Oh, that's different.
Yeah, because I know the North American ones don't have feet, but this one
Is it
did.
like a weird color? Like what color is that GameCube Japanese
It's just the
GameCube?
standard like indigo or purple or whatever it's called.
Oh, is the GameCube player purple as well?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I think they're only black here. Or do you have one that's not black? US or Canada?
Uh, I think there were platinum ones here, weren't there?
No, I have a black one. Or I
I
have a
know in
black
Japan
one.
they
But,
had like the orange one and like platinum and different
they get
colors.
all the cool colors. They always
Yeah,
get like
that was
really
one
cool
thing. Like
colors.
I that was like Nintendo's like last system that they made a lot of really cool colors for. I think.
Yeah, the Wii is just black and white, and I guess there's that Mario red one. I
Yeah,
think,
there's a
and the
Walmart blue
Walmart
one
blue
too.
one. Yeah,
Yeah, but I mean, like those came out years and years later. But the GameCube, right from launch, had a couple cool colors, and the
yeah,
orange color was so cool. I always wanted one of the orange GameCubes.
yeah. I actually bought an orange third-party controller, and like I opened it, and of course, being third-party, the joystick didn't work at all, so I took it back. But I
I think,
know. I
yeah, I
mean,
think I bought a second party, or third party, a orange one as well because I wanted an orange one so bad because they looked so
yeah,
cool.
yeah, same here.
And what other accessories here? So we have also have the
Game
bongos.
Boy. Oh, the bongos. Yeah, let's talk about those.
Um,
Um, I just want to start off by saying everyone should try out Donkey Konga. Like, seriously. I think that game got a really bad rap when it came out because it wasn't Donkey Kong Country 4.
mhm.
But I seriously love that series so much. And
Yeah,
bongos, I think, are pretty cheap from what I know.
yeah. I think usually I see them for like one of the games and the bongos for like maybe like 30 together, which isn't
Yeah,
bad.
that's not too bad.
But yeah,
But
I also, damn, I love Donkey Konga, and part of the reason was because like all my brother's friends bought Donkey Konga, so they all had a bongo. So whenever they'd come over, we'd have like four-player Donkey Konga, each person with their bongos,
That's
and
awesome.
that was pretty sweet. And um, so there's Donkey Konga 1 and Donkey Konga 2
Right.
here, and then there's
Yeah.
Donkey Konga 3 in Japan.
Japan.
And then something that I hate is that they all have different track lists for those who don't know anything about Donkey Konga. I guess we should explain that first. It's uh,
Right. Go
it's
ahead.
basically like a music. It's a music game. So before Guitar Hero, there was like a game called the Taiko Drum Master.
Yeah, it's pretty much that with the bongos instead of the take a drum, I think.
Yeah.
They look almost the same.
So there's the left bongo, the right bongo, pressing them both, and then clapping, or you could just tap the side, which is a lot easier to do.
Yeah, that's what
And
anyone should
so
do.
it turned a lot of people off because it like makes you look goofy, right? You have to like remember this is before Guitar Hero, this is before Rock Band, this is before the Wii, before
Yeah,
Connect. So people were really not into moving around in front of their TV. I mean, people still, just hate on games just because there's a bit of movement in them.
yeah,
So back then, like it wasn't terribly popular, I don't think, but man, I had so much fun with it back in the day. Four-player Donkey Konga, like it feels so good to like whenever everyone's in the rhythm and like working together, compared
yeah,
to like Rock Band or something where everybody has a different instrument. You're all like kind of doing the same thing and working together.
right. Yeah.
Plus, you could play stuff like the Pokemon theme and like uh, like Mario Brothers
Zelda
and stuff like
theme.
that. Yeah, and Zelda theme, and it's pretty awesome. Um,
Yeah, really cool.
but yeah, the one thing I said like that I hate is that the song lists are different. So if you look at the songs that were released here, they're made more for the North American audience. The ones in Japan are made more for the Japanese audience, and the ones in PAL regions are made for more of a PAL audience. So each
Yeah.
game has a different sound list, and that's why I actually also bought Donkey Konga 1 and Donkey Konga 2 in Japanese, and I don't have them yet, but they'll be coming shortly. And I'm
Yeah.
considering buying Donkey Konga 2 in PAL because um, it has a lot of really good songs on it. It has like one song that I think would be amazing. It has I think it's called "Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood." It's on like the Kill Bill soundtrack.
Oh, cool.
Whenever I can't remember her name, Oshiri or whatever her name is, right before the last fight in Kill Bill 1.
Mhm.
That's the song that's playing. It has a lot of really, really good songs. Um,
Yeah.
and so right now I have five Donkey Kongas.
Oh,
Um,
wow. I only have the original two, but I played three and for a decent amount of time without bongos because I played it in an extremely horribly bad fashion. But seriously, if I ever import a Japanese GameCube, I might as well just paint Donkey Konga 3 on the side and just make like a cabinet. I would actually do that if I had the funds. That'd be so awesome to have just a cabinet with four bongos and that game just in it at all times.
That'd be a huge
Just play
cab.
it. Yeah, that'd have to be really big, but it'd be worth it. That game is really fun. That's
Mm-hmm.
probably I think it has the best set list in the series, mainly because of the NES soundtracks. I'm a huge NES fan, so that's really cool. For Famicom,
Yeah, there's. I've only unlocked two so far, the first two, because I
yeah.
don't think there's a way to unlock them other than just playing the game. I don't know if it's by like how many times you play or.
It's I had to research that. It's how many gold DKs you get. Every gold DK counts for all difficulties. So when you have the time, I would just recommend going through on the easiest difficulty, acing all the songs in pre-play or whatever, and then you should get a few from that. Then do it with medium and then hard, and that's how you get all of them.
Oh, okay. That's
Takes
a
a
good
while.
tip because I usually skip easy because easy is so slow that it's infuriating and I
Yeah,
suck
I
at
hate
it.
it. I hate it
It's
so
so
much.
slow. But
Yeah, but that it you kind of have to play them to get the Famicom songs, so
right.
you
One
know,
of the
and it gets you
things
money.
and what?
You get like a lot of money to get the Gorilla songs too, which I think you still have to buy, or you
Yeah.
buy something. I can't read
I'm
it.
not that good at the hardest difficulty. I can usually only do the easier songs. I just get to a point where I just like I miss a note and then I miss another one and then I'm just like deer in headlights and I just the song's over. I just can't do it.
Uh, that sucks. I was pretty good back in the day, but I have no idea how I'd be now. I was actually in percussion in my band in middle school. So I used to actually play Donkey Konga, and we had to do like timesheets for practicing every week, and I wrote it off, and my teacher agreed with me actually. So I played it a lot for band, and I got pretty good at both drums and that. Although that's probably not the best way to practice. This was just like this was a seventh grade band, so I don't
Yeah,
think it would
yeah.
really help you too much, but it was good enough, I guess, for that back then.
Yeah, my little brother was really good at Donkey Konga. I don't know what it is. There's something about like rhythm games, like even like Guitar Hero and stuff. It just gets to a certain speed that I can't process it. I'd have to like try really really hard to do well. So I'd rather go in the middle songs and just like get in the groove and kind of like fool around a little bit and then be really
Yeah.
serious about it. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, rhythm games are like an acquired taste. It depends on like the game entirely for how well I will do. Like Donkey Konga is perfect. DDR, like ignoring the fact that I can't really do it well, it's still like just how it's presented is really I just hate how it's presented for some reason.
what do you mean? Like
Like
the
the arrows,
interface?
yeah, the interface, that good, yeah. Like just how the arrows are set up and stuff. I play with the controller, so that's probably my entire problem. But it's just, I don't know. I can't do it.
Yeah, because I don't think you could do everything with the controller. Um,
Yeah, they give you both the D-pad and the face buttons to do things, but it's still some moves are really, really hard.
Yeah, speaking of DDR though, Mario DDR, another amazing game
Right? I have
on.
not picked that up, but it looks good.
Yeah, it's such a good game. The thing that people hate on Mario DDR about is because um, they took out a lot of things. Like there's no freezes, so a freeze in DDR is whenever you like hold your foot down and you hold it for a certain amount of time and then you let go. So there's no freezes, and there's also not a lot of a specific alternating double foot pattern. So they took out the really hard techniques. So basically, the only way that the difficulty scales in that game is speed. Um,
Oh,
so a lot of people really don't like DDR purists out there don't like it, but the fact that you can like you're playing like a story mode where Mario is dancing to Super Mario Brothers 3 techno music to fish. You can't get that experience anywhere else. it's
yeah, it's a really nice looking game. Even if you're not playing, I've seen people play it before, and I think there was a kiosk demo here for a little while, and it always looked really entertaining just to watch.
some of the songs are really good in that game. It does have um, some original music. I'd say maybe like 5 or 6 songs or something, but for the most part, it's just like remixed themes. Like they have like the Donkey Kong theme and Mario Brothers 3 and
Yeah.
the Underground theme, things like that. So even if you can't play that game, I'd recommend to people to check out the soundtrack. Some of the songs are really good. Some are terrible because they're DDR and they're like Japanese techno pop stuff. But
Yeah.
the Mario DDR pad is so good. For those that want to play Mario DDR, try very hard to get the official Nintendo dance pad. Every other dance pad I've ever played with is terrible compared to the one Nintendo made.
Ah,
It's
good tip. I
yeah.
always try to buy official stuff like that.
But the thing is with DDR is that even like it's Konami, right?
Right.
DDR.
Yes, yes it is.
Even the Konami pad is not as good as the one that Nintendo and Konami made. Or
Yeah.
would it be Namco or Konami? I don't know. Whoever they made it
Konami.
with.
It's Konami.
And I don't understand why because like I'm assuming that Nintendo didn't build a whole factory just to make their special DDR pads. They probably made it at the same factories that they make all the other Konami pads at, but for some reason
Yeah.
it's way better. It's way more responsive and the material's nicer, so it doesn't like curl up. I was actually lucky enough. I found one at like a at a thrift store, like in box, no game, but in box for like $5. So I was pretty happy
Yeah,
about that.
I found one at a thrift store here in box, but I think it was like 30. And I mean me not even being able to use it really. I just kind of, passed it up. But
Yeah,
I don't know if that's like good or bad at $30, but I didn't really think twice about picking up the game. It can be played with the controller, right?
yeah.
Albeit probably not well. But yeah, the game, if I ever find cheaply, I'll pick it up.
My brother and I sometimes play with the Donkey Konga bongos.
Does that work?
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen. I did a video on it actually, where you
Oh,
take
I
it,
remember that.
and
I saw that such a long time ago.
because there's actually four buttons in the bongo. There's two buttons in each of the bongo pads or whatever, the bongo
Yeah,
skins, I guess you'd call them.
yeah,
So
yeah.
each button is actually a direction
Oh wow.
on DDR. So you'd have to like turn the controller sideways, and it's kind of weird because like the top left is like up and the bottom right is down, and the top
Yeah.
right is right and the bottom left is left. So we'd sometimes play with that just for fun. And he's actually really good at it. I don't know how. He's just I
Wow.
don't, he just has the mind, I guess, to do those rhythm games in weird ways.
That's nuts.
That
I
was a
can
really fun video to do. I really liked doing that one where we took like I also took like the Mario DDR pad and played like Mega Man on it, or like try to play like Mario Kart and stuff. So
Yeah. Did you this guy might have been inspired by you. I watched a bunch of videos with some guy beating games with that DDR pad. Like he beat Mega Man with it and I think like Castlevania or something. He's pretty cool. It was pretty cool to watch.
no, I've never seen those. I might have to look that up.
He made yeah, he beat Mega Man 1 with the pad. That's awesome.
That's pretty impressive. Mega Man One is. I don't think I ever. No, I never beat that one. Well,
I never beat it.
beating any of the Mega Mans is impressive, in my
Yeah.
opinion. I've only beaten, I think, 2 and 6, and then the
Yeah,
rest
I did too.
I give up. I get to like Doctor Wily, and I'm like, well, I'm done.
That's how it was with Mega Man 9.
Yeah, Mega Man 9. Oh my god! Once you get to
I
that
can't,
guy that is the like the green blob guy that his body parts fly around everywhere.
yeah, I hate that guy. He's in like every game after Mega Man Base, or maybe a bit before then, but I hate him.
And that's Mega Man and Bass. Now that you mention it, that's one of the games that I didn't buy until I got a Game Boy player because it
Really?
was a Super Nintendo game in Japan, and they
Yeah,
ported it to um,
Game Boy
the Game
Advance.
Boy Advance here. So
Yeah,
that's actually a good trick to get around buying some really expensive games. Is for example, I own Yoshi's Island on
yeah,
the Game Boy Advance, but
such a good game.
whenever I play it on the Game Boy Player, it's pretty much like having the SNES version.
Yeah,
It does look a little bit different, really minimally though, and obviously the controller is different. But I mean, if it's between picking that up for like $5 at a garage sale, or like trying to find Yoshi's Island for I don't even know how much that sells for.
I
Like,
think it's like 30. Every Mario game on SNES is like 30.
oh, it's only 30. I thought it was more than that.
Um, I think so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well,
I think it's around 30 because I think the Super FX chip drives it up a bit. Well,
right.
it might be 40 because of that. Never mind. It's probably 40 is of the Super FX chip.
Yeah. So that's a good thing that I use it for. Like I love playing some games like Mega Man and Bass. Like I don't even try to play that on the Game Boy Advance. I only play it on the TV.
Yeah,
Or
I beat both Metroids on the TV, and that was really cool.
yeah, I use that too because I have the Game Boy. The Game Boy Advance version of Metroid is actually pretty terrible looking. I didn't
Yeah,
realize it till I got the 3DS eShop version. Um,
yeah,
but the colors are really weird on the Game Boy Advance one.
yeah, yeah. I think I played the Prime version of that actually. It's on Metroid Prime, and I think it's like a direct port. So that's what I used for the original. But I beat Fusion and Zero Mission with the player.
Right. Oh, okay. So the newer ones, yeah,
Yeah,
those ones probably look good.
yeah. Zero Mission advertised the Game Boy player. That was like really advertised with the Game Boy player. I don't know if they came out around the same time or what, but I remember seeing that alongside the Game Boy player a lot.
And I'm trying to think of probably the only other peripheral that made it over here was probably the I don't know if you count the Game Boy Advance connector cable, right?
Right. Oh, that was cool.
I
That was
know,
such a piece of hardware.
and everyone just rags on it, and rags on it, and it just the people don't understand is because people imagine, okay, if you want to play, for example, Four Swords or Crystal Chronicles or something, or a game where you
Yeah,
needed the Game Boy Advance connector cable and a Game Boy Advance,
yeah,
people think, oh, I want to play this game, I have to go buy a Game Boy Advance. No,
yeah.
who didn't have a Game Boy Advance back in the early 2000s?
Seriously, yeah.
I
It wasn't hard at all to get games going.
no, like I at least everyone who had a GameCube had a Game Boy Advance. But back then, there was no like PSP. If you wanted a handheld, you had a Game Boy Advance. That's just the way it worked.
Yeah,
And most of my friends, even those that didn't even really play games, even like a lot of people, because it was so cheap too. The Game Boy Advance was what when it came out, like $100.
yeah. And it went down to 80 really fast, and then it was 60, I think.
Yeah,
The
and
original went down insanely fast once the SP came out.
yeah, like everybody had one. So all you had to do was go buy a cable. And it's not like you yourself had to own four cables and four Game Boy Advances. No, every friend who had a Game Boy Advance just bought one and brought it over.
Yeah, simple as that. Then you could play Four Swords, Pac-Man Versus. My favorite use of it was actually the Animal Crossing use, where you could
Mm-hmm.
download NES games into, I guess, the RAM of the Game Boy
Mm-hmm.
Advance, and you could play them until we turn them off. I've used that quite a bit. Really,
Or
Myth Punch Out couldn't do that though.
or you could go to the island in Animal Crossing, the
Yeah.
tropical island. I remember the first time I saw Animal Crossing was at a friend's trailer lot, and he was at like a lot that had like power on it, and
Oh, cool.
so he had like out on like this old rickety card table like this tiny TV in Animal Crossing, and it's like a beautiful summer day like in July, and we're like sitting there playing Animal Crossing outside, and I'm like,
That's cool.
this game, I don't know why, but I need to have it.
Yeah,
So
that's the thing with Animal Crossing. Like back back when everything came out, I was like, oh man, I want hardcore games like Metroid Prime and whatever. But that game I got, and I'm like, you know what? This game is really chill. I love it. Like,
it's so good. I went out and I think I went to like Radio Shack or something back when they were around here, and I
yeah,
think I paid like 60 for it or 65. It was expensive because it came with the memory card, right?
yeah,
Because the
right,
game memory is like 50 blocks or something, and memory cards were like 100, so they just gave you like a 50 block memory card with the game.
right.
But yeah, I remember I went and I bought it right away, and then I knew like the Game Boy Advance trick right off the bat as well, so that helped. But I didn't tell any of my brothers and sisters, so that's how I ended up getting rich and like actually paying off my debts and everything was by doing
Yeah,
that island trick, and I never told any of them about it.
yeah, yeah. That was man. The things you could do in Animal Crossing, just the connectivity. What really blew my mind back in the day was trading items. I mean, I figured out how they did it now, but I thought that was really innovative.
Trading items with,
Uh, Tom Nook, you could like deposit items with him, and he'd get a code, and you give your buddy that code, and you could get that item.
right, right, yeah.
Yeah, I have a generator actually in my favorites somewhere. I don't know. Here it is. Animal Crossing code generator. Is I've recently been. Well, no, I haven't played it in like 2 months. I thought I was going to play it a lot, but I really haven't.
So you could just
But
get all
yeah,
the items.
yeah, you just you can enter a name and a town name and a player name, and then you can get every item except those four NES games that never made it, like Ice Climber and Zelda.
Yeah, I
I
mean
don't know
that's
why.
crazy. Like the Japanese version of Animal Crossing has The Legend of Zelda in it.
Yeah, that's nuts. I don't think you can download any of those to the Game Boy Advance. I think those in Punch Out were locked out. Is of
Hmm.
I don't know why. But
It's still so cool though. I mean, even if you find Animal Crossing for like $10 or something and buy it and use those codes, you have what, six or seven games? You have like Wario Land, you have what else is in there? Or not Wario Land, Wario's
Wario's
Woods,
Woods.
Excite Bike.
That was one of the deciding factors in me getting it actually. So I just wanted all of those, and I knew the Game Boy Advance, um, whatever the NES Classic series. Those were all. I thought those were all pretty overpriced. So
Hmm.
that Animal Crossing was a good way to still play those on my Game Boy Advance.
Yeah, it's so amazing. All the items in there. You could have like like the Mario blocks and stuff inside your house, and you can have NES games, and It's
Yeah.
oh, it's like honest Kate, the GameCube. One of the reasons why I love the GameCube is because whenever I start talking about the games, my sentences usually just trail into, oh damn, it's just so good. That's usually what they trail into. Like I talk about like Wind Waker or Animal Crossing or
Yeah.
a lot of other games. I'm just, it was just so damn good. Eh,
Yeah, what I loved about the GameCube, I think, the thing that I would say about the GameCube is the fact that almost every GameCube game published by Nintendo, or like classic series and stuff, like got like reimagined on the GameCube. And in
yes.
almost every instance, I would say they were either better or comparable in terms of like quality and fun and all that jazz to whatever they were before. And I thought
Hmm.
that was really cool.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that's something I wanted to say too. That I don't think people talk about enough is like the GameCube, despite the fact that it was, I think, I think this is kind of what happened in my mind. I'm sure it's
Yeah,
wrong, but
go
so
ahead.
the 64 tanking compared to the PS1, doing terribly. They're losing people left and right, and part
Yeah,
of the reason is because PlayStation was more mature, and mature quote unquote. I'm doing air quotes over here, and they had a lot of series jumped ship like the Final Fantasy series, and people were starting to the people who were growing up looked at the Nintendo and said that's a kid system. All the games are
yeah,
the same. Mario, Super Mario World, whatever. That's the same as Mario Brothers 3. There's like no difference.
yeah,
And so Nintendo said, "All right, what we need is we need a powerful system that can go on par with the next systems, with the PS2 and with the Dreamcast at the time."
yeah.
So they made a system, and then they also decided to basically reimagine. I think it was a conscious decision to reimagine most of their series. I mean, you think of anything, you think of Kirby, Donkey Kong, Metroid,
Yeah,
Zelda,
exactly.
Mario. Um, what else? They're just pretty
But
much every
yeah,
one of their series. Yeah, is completely different.
yeah, and then they brought, I mean, Pikmin and Animal Crossing, which for Nintendo bringing in new IPs past the SNES really, or maybe even past the NES, that was pretty significant, I thought. That we
Yeah,
got like two big IPs.
yeah, because they didn't bring out. I could be wrong, but I don't think they brought out that many new original IPs um, on the 64 outside of like what Rare was putting out, right?
Right. Chi Chi Robo is another one I forgot. I've never played that one, but
Which one,
it
Chibi
looks good.
Robo?
Yeah, Chibi. Yeah.
Yeah, um, yeah, because the GameCube is amazing because of like even just the Nintendo games, like you said, all their old franchises were reimagined most of the time for the better.
Yeah.
And you got new IPs, tons of them. Like you said, you got I don't know if you could count Mario DDR, Pikmin, Chibi Robo, Odama, which was like a voice controlled pinball samurai warrior kind of game, like Eternal Darkness, Animal Crossing, Custom Robo, um,
Yeah.
just so many
Well,
like, and I think even like in Japan they made Cubivore, they made Bait or they at least published Bait and Kados.
yeah.
Um, so even just the Nintendo games or Nintendo published games on that system by themselves is still like still having like an amazing variety of things to play.
Well, I guess something that I should mention here before some nerd jumps down our throats is Animal Crossing and Custom Robo were both actually on the N64 in Japan, but
Yeah, yeah,
honestly, nobody heard about them when they were in Japan. And like, if you were in the US back in the day, like, I don't think anyone would import Animal Crossing. Anyone imported Animal Crossing on the N64 back
no,
in the day. Like,
no.
so they might have not been new, but they felt really new. Like, I,
Well they were new to North America,
yeah,
of
and
course.
PAL and
Of course,
yeah,
speaking from a North American perspective, because I mean, people people try to speak from worldly perspectives, but I think that that's not really fair. It doesn't work because every system, almost every system, a Japanese system, I should say, not Xbox, but all Japanese systems in Japan they have way more games. It's just the way it works for the
yeah,
most part.
they
Even the
also,
GameCube, Nintendo had probably like 5 or 10 games they never brought over,
yeah,
and even
yeah,
some
there's,
games they weren't going to. Like Cubivore, I think here is published by Atlas because Nintendo didn't feel like it.
yeah, Atlas, such a good company. I love you.
Mm-hmm. So, so you said you actually like the reimaginings. Um,
Yeah, I think, well, the SNES is really good. My two favorite Nintendo consoles are the SNES and the GameCube. And both, like the SNES, I feel just almost every IP on that was just the NES game, but they just superized it, you could say. Like,
yeah.
I just felt like every game there was just superior to the NES version. And then the GameCube, I love a lot because they took the IPs and they really tried to do something new, and they almost always turned out to be great. I love
Hmm.
the N64 a lot as well. I mean, I love all of them, but the GameCubes and the SNES are top tier.
Yeah, because I'm looking through. I'm trying to see here. I'm looking through the games that I own. So I'm trying to see which Nintendo ones we're talking about here. Yeah. So there was no Donkey Kong Country, but there was
Right.
Donkey Konga, and there was Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, which is comparable, I think, to a very, very, very simple Donkey Kong Country game.
Yeah, it's like Donkey Kong Country if it focused a lot more on the combat
Hmm.
instead of the platforming.
Um, let's see here. What else did they come out with? Like Zelda, obviously. Whenever Luigi or not Luigi's Mansion, whenever Wind Waker came out, there was such a huge hubbub over it. I remember, like
Yeah,
even
I
me,
know.
like I loved Zelda, and I was just like, I was totally caught up in the, oh, kids graphics, not playing that. And
Yeah.
I mean, once I did, like, it's so good, so
Yeah, no,
good.
it's such a good game. And it still looks like I love that style because it holds up extremely well.
Mm-hmm.
And that and like well, Jet Set Radio just got re-released, but like those types of games I think will always look really good on their original system.
Mm-hmm.
Like always.
Yeah, I don't want to talk too much about Wind Waker because I did have a Zelda episode where I talked about it, but I
Right.
just do want to say that the one thing that I learned from Wind Waker was you really, especially on the GameCube, you can't judge a game by its cover. You really can't. Because I
Yeah.
remember going on with the hype and saying, this is totally childish and I can't play this. It's all chibi and all the kids got, they all have like little feet and make plipping and plopping noises whenever they walk. It's totally not Zelda. They ruined it. And then I played it, and as I was playing it, I still had that in the back of my mind. But as soon as I just dropped that, I just realized this was like now one of like my favorite Zelda games. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
it,
Yeah, I actually have something like extremely on the same um train of thought you're on. And it's the same thing, like not judging a game by what it is.
mm-hmm,
And it's actually you could consider this. I have a top 10 like underrated GameCube gems on my channel, check it out.
mm-hmm.
But this almost made 10. It was so close. And it's one that the reason why I didn't put it in is because I was just going to really try to defend myself, but on here it's cool. So, anyways, Pokemon channel. That game, I looked at it and I'm like, wow, this is for 5-year-olds. It's stupid Pikachu, and you're just taking it around. And I thought it looked really lame, but my sister really wanted it, so I'm like, you know what? It's Pokemon. I'll pick it up. That's pretty much my train of thought back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
So I picked it up, and it's actually for what it is. It's actually really good if you're into like having your own Pikachu, watching TV with it. But I mean, it. Oh man, you can't explain why it's good.
People,
But
people, listen up. This is
yeah,
why I love doing these things. Because you know what? I freaking love Pokemon Channel.
yes, yeah. So what do you have to say about it?
um, I ended up. I never heard about it like with the upcut beforehand, but I
Yeah, it
remember
was
hearing about it because it wasn't
yeah,
like terribly advertised, at least from what I remember, and it wasn't
yeah.
very
No, it wasn't.
popular. But I
It
remember
wasn't.
hearing, "Hey, there's this game where you can watch Pikachu watch TV," and I'm like, you
Yeah,
know what? That sounds so stupid that I want to get it. So
I know.
I ended up getting it. I don't know, like for like $10 or something at some like pawn shop, and the game isn't entirely you watching Pikachu watch TV, but
Yeah,
I don't know what it is about it. It's like the spiritual successor to Hey You Pikachu in a way.
I think it's a lot better. But yeah,
And it basically you are like a kid who a Pikachu walks into his bedroom and is like, "Hey, I'm gonna chill here for a while." And
Yes.
you being lame and not just throwing a Pokeball over him and like training him to be, awesome. You're just like, sure, we're just gonna watch TV and play game shows on there and buy stuffed animals. And occasionally we'll leave the bedroom and go and like do trivia with Pokemon. And that's basically the whole game. I don't think there's oh, the one thing about it that's really good, I think, is you can get those little
Pokemon minis.
yeah, the
Yep.
Pokemon minis. So
Yep. That's why I bought it. Under that was my justification for getting it was that.
yeah, it's like basically for people who don't know, Pokemon minis were like a kind of like a little Tamagotchi basically thing that had it was like a Tamagotchi slash Game Boy, where the only cartridges you had were basically like little Pokemon themed games, and they were really simple. Like, oh, did the ball go outside of the line or inside the line, or tap A to eat food? Basically, is what the games were, and
Actually, that was like one game. Do you know a lot about like I researched this last month for like 3 days. So that was just like one game called Pokemon Party. And what they did on the uh Hey You Pikachu or no Pokemon channel, I'm sorry, is they took that it's called Pokemon Party. They split it up into like three games, the Slow King, I think like the Chansey and the Pikachu Rocket Race. Then they made the Snorlax one then they also had that Diglett one or something. Anyways, on the Pokemon Mini, the games actually have a lot to them. Like, like I said, four of those on a Pokemon channel are from the same game, but the Pokemon Mini had, uh, let me look here. It had, oh, right, it had that pinball one, which
mm-hmm.
actually has a lot of content on it. It has the puzzle. It has two puzzle ones, which both have like a ton of puzzles. I think like 450 or so. And then I don't think it had any insanely complex games, but in Japan there's one that I think's like a light version of Pokemon Mystery Dungeon with like Togepi or something.
Really,
Really weird. Hold
hmm.
on. Let's see. Where are Yeah, so yeah, they also had Tetris. So yeah, I guess these aren't as complex as I thought. Never mind. But like there's a lot of content, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it's worth buying the
Yeah.
game just for that, but I don't think it's a good game by any means, but I don't know why. There's just something about it that's like you said, like about Animal Crossing. It's just so chill, and
Yeah.
I think it was one of those like earlier games that I played that wasn't very gamey. Like it wasn't
Yeah.
like Animal Crossing. It's not that much of a game, um, so much as like you're just relaxing. And this is at a point in my life where I really needed to relax. I was going through like a lot of really tough stuff, like
Yeah.
school and outside of school even.
Same here, same here. I
So
think that might be why we loved it so much, but it is
maybe.
seriously, if you're stressed out by this game right now, because you'll, and if you like Pokemon, you'll
Hmm.
love it to
Yeah,
death.
yeah, I don't know, man. There's something about it. The music's nice and charming, and I hate that I can't find the music anywhere without Pikachu's voice in it. But
Yeah, like that theme, I don't know what theme, I can't even name it, but that one track that's just really, really chill, I love. And I'd love just to listen to that while editing
the
and
one
stuff.
that's like da 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 da. That one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to just like edit videos to that and stuff. The only thing I'll say negative about that game, the US version, was in Europe. If you had, well, the Europe copy, you could get Jirachi once you beat the game.
Hmm.
And back then, I was really big into like Ruby and Sapphire and Emerald stuff like that. But I mean, whatever. That's old, and you can easily get Jirachi now with hacks or whatever. But I thought that I really wish that would have was everywhere.
It also came with some e-reader cards, didn't it?
I bought mine used, so I don't know.
Yeah, mine. I don't think mine came with them either. I think it did.
Yeah,
Yeah, but there was something, I mean, about that and Animal Crossing, and part of it was like being chill. And the thing I liked about Animal Crossing too is that was like the last, I bought it during the summer, and that was like the last summer I had that I knew was like, well, this is the last summer I'm going to have for the rest of my life that's fun. Because I had a job, but it was like 2 days a week. And I was going to be
yeah,
going to like a new school, and I knew that things were going to get tougher, and that from now on I'm going to need a summer job every summer. So this was
yeah,
like my last summer that I could be chill, so
yeah,
I just I played that game, I think, honestly, for probably about 3 or 4 months, like almost every day. And
Yeah, I played it for at least a month, probably 2 months.
there's timed things in there too. Like I remember, um, there's like aerobics at like 6 a.m. or something, and it's so stupid because all you do is go over there and like tap up, and then your character does aerobics, and it was the stupidest thing ever. But I would get up at 6 in the morning to go do those aerobics. I wouldn't reset the GameCube clock. I would do it like real time, and I don't know why, but I did it.
It's wild.
Um, and part of the thing I loved about Animal Crossing too is I don't know if you had this in your household, maybe with your sister, but did your sister play with you at the same time?
It was actually her file, but we really just like co-opted on it. We played a lot together,
But
and
did you have
you
like
know,
the one house, or did you each have your own separate house?
oh no, we were kids, so we just played in my room.
No, no, no. I mean, in Animal Crossing.
Oh, Animal Crossing. Oh, right. No, no, we had two separate houses. I played way more than her though. She played, I think she upgraded her house twice and quit. We played the DS one a lot more, like more than I'm willing to admit. Like we almost lost our lives to that.
I think that like to really experience Animal Crossing the way like it's meant to is really important to understanding the love because I don't think we had all four of us in the same village. I think we had two villages, but we had two villages because we wanted to get more fruit because you can only get the fruit from other villages and the fruit is
Yeah,
worth more from other villages. So
right.
we had two villages, but between the four of us, so we would like leave each other notes and like bury pitfalls in front of each other's houses and stuff. And I don't know, part of that like disconnected like connectivity was kind of
Yeah.
cool. So you'd like start up your game and then you'd say, "Oh, look, my brother wrote something stupid on the message board, or he sent me a message, or he sent me like this cool item in the mail, or he made a really neat pattern and now I can go buy it. I can wear that Pikachu shirt or something." I just something about that like connectivity was really neat.
Yeah, I used to do Wi-Fi a lot with I moved, but I had a couple friends back at home that had Animal Crossing, so we used to all just go on Wi-Fi and run around and stuff with the Wild World, of course, but
I was
I
going to say.
understand that. Yeah, I understand that mentality of if you have friends with that game, it just the replayability and everything just shoots up. So
Mm-hmm.
fun.
So Pokemon. So I'm trying to look through these the other series that they made that they changed. Well, Star Fox is a really controversial one. How do you feel
Yeah.
about the Star Fox games?
Um, I have never owned Adventures, so I'm not even going to speak on that until I play it because I might actually really enjoy it. Sometimes I love those games, but I played Assault and I have the extremely streamlined opinion that I love the flight missions, not nuts about the ground missions, but I think the multiplayer is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we actually played a lot of multiplayer because it's really arcadey
Yeah,
and a lot of fun. And basically, all we would do is go to Corneria, and which is like a huge area with like buildings and stuff, so a lot of places to hide. And we'd go only sniper rifles, and I think there's like a missile you can control, right?
yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, so we'd go only those two items, and then we'd like all run into the four corners at the beginning, and then we'd say, "Okay, go." And then we'd go and like sneak and try to like snipe each other out or use like the tracking missiles to kill each other. We did that for
Wow.
hours and hours. It was so much fun.
Yeah, that game had a really underrated multiplayer. And now that the smoke's settled a bit, like definitely pick it up, people, if you haven't.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think the campaign is still worth it, even if you have to suffer through the ground missions. And they're not like god awful either. It's
No.
just it's just not the high level that Star Fox should be. And it's
Mm-hmm.
really not Star Fox. And it doesn't to my knowledge, Adventures controls a lot better, I think.
Yeah,
I don't know.
my problem with Assault, I actually only played it other than the multiplayer. I only played the campaign for the first time last week, and it's really short. It's like 10 hours or something, or maybe even 6 or 7, as Star
Yeah.
Fox games are. And my problem with it is that you jump, into a tank, and then you go into the R wing, and then you go on foot, and all the controls are vastly different. And
Yeah, I hated that.
I never spent enough time in like a
The art
vehicle or on foot to really get the hang of the controls because like in the ship shooting is like R, but then on foot shooting is A, and then in the tank the shooting is like something else. And I don't know if those are the actual controls, but the controls
Yeah.
are vastly different. So I never really got a hang of it. The campaign is it's okay, like you said,
Yeah, it's all right.
but the multiplayer is a lot of fun. And Adventures, I actually this was another game that I bought, and I was giving into the whole, I guess, anti-hype about
Yeah.
hating it. I bought it and I was like, this isn't Star Fox 64, and
Yeah.
I really hated it. And then I put it down, and then I picked it up a couple years later, and I enjoyed it. Uh, if you put aside the fact that it's not a normal Star Fox game, just pretend it's still called Dinosaur Planet. There,
Yeah, Dinosaur Planet.
maybe
Yeah.
you'll feel better about it. It's basically
Yeah.
just like a kind of a Zelda esque game,
Yeah.
dinosaur themed, with Fox as the main character using a magical staff, basically. And it's decent. It's not as good as a Zelda game, but I would still say it's above average as far as games go. Not
Yeah, I
much.
mean, it's made by Rare, so it's good.
Yeah,
But
rare.
like, oh man, they're not very good now, but back then they were really good. And man, do I wish they would have stuck. I wish they would have stuck with Nintendo, at least to make Donkey Kong Racing. Have
Yeah.
you seen anything about that?
I was looking at a video of that I think a couple weeks ago. I think they just made like the one concept video, but I was reading like what it was supposed to be, and it was
Yeah,
supposed to be like racing, except you would like run on foot and then jump on like Rambi, and then like race Rambi, and then like jump on an elephant, and then race an elephant, and then jump on an ostrich, and jump on Ungard, and then race Ungard through the water. And it seemed really
yeah,
like a really cool concept, but I think
yeah.
they got sold before they could go any farther with that. Because I think was Star Fox the last Nintendo game they made?
No, because they made Banjo-Kazooie Gruntilda's Revenge on the Game Boy Advance. They made Banjo Pilot on the Game Boy Advance. Or yeah, Banjo Pilot.
But
It was
those
going to
those
be
were still whenever they were owned by Microsoft. I mean,
yeah.
weren't they?
Uh, oh, okay, right. So I guess I believe. Nah, I think you're right. I think Star Fox Adventures was their last two raw.
Yeah, which wasn't much of a hurrah. I really wish they would have stuck with them because then we would have had like Grab by the Ghoulies on there. And have you ever
Yeah.
played Grab by the Ghoulies?
I played the demo and I thought it was good, but that was back on its release, and I didn't think it was $60 good, and I didn't realize it was made by Rare. So I thought all the characters looking like Rare. I don't know. It didn't. I actually probably thought it was a Rare ripoff.
I think whenever I played it, before I even knew it was like in development for the GameCube, I was like, this feels like a GameCube game. This does not feel like Microsoft. And I think also um, Cameo was in development for the GameCube as well, which
Yeah,
was I think a 360 launch title.
yeah. That about Cameo recently, and I mean like last week, a huge prototype for the original Xbox was released, and it definitely would have fit right at home on the GameCube. It's I mean the footage is pretty new. You should look it up sometime.
Yeah,
But
well,
yeah, it looks pretty cool, and I think you can download it if you have modded Xbox or whatever. But there's tons of playthrough videos on it.
do you know why Rare was sold?
I read a huge after we're finished with this, there's a huge interview on
Mm-hmm.
Eurogamer.net or something. I read that, and I'm going to try to remember. But honestly, I think it was just um, everyone was really stressed out. If I recall, the structure in Rare wasn't like it used to be. Like people were working on a bunch of different projects, and basically, I think they just needed a company to step in. And why Nintendo is so, or I think I don't know. I honestly forget, but it was something to do with money. Money killed him in some way. Money
Right.
got to him.
I like because I think they were always really hush hush. I don't think they ever said why. Like Nintendo, I don't think ever even said anything about it, did they?
Nintendo, no, they never say anything. There's another interview I read as well with there's that new Rare Studio Crash Lab. They make iOS games, and they did an interview on a website that I sadly can't remember
Yeah, I
right
read
now.
that one
That's
too.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't think they said anything about why they got sold.
No,
But
because that's the
Eurogamer,
first thing I would ask anybody from Rare was,
yeah,
what happened? Why aren't you
what
with
happened?
Nintendo?
Yeah, I wish that Crash Lab or yeah, I wish Crash Lab just would somehow go back to Nintendo and that Nintendo could get all of those IPs back. And oh man, Rare was so good, especially to the N64. I
Yeah,
actually liked Rare's games better than Nintendo's on
yeah,
that console.
they were right up there. I'm see. I always assumed that Nintendo just sold Rare because they were hurting for money so much, and Rare didn't really put out that much on the GameCube. Um, but I think I don't know. I thought
Yeah.
originally that they're just like, well, we need money because two of our systems are doing bad, so we need money. So we'll just sell Rare, which is clearly worth a lot.
Yeah, they might have just sold them for money, or like I said, I think maybe the structuring was bad, and Nintendo might have not been managing Rare like they should have been, so Microsoft might have stepped in and scooped them up.
Yeah, but I mean, like nowadays, it's not really like Rare doesn't really mean anything. It's the same
Yeah,
with
they
like a
may
lot of other studios, like Capcom and um, like Square Enix and stuff, and
Square Enix and Konami sad. Well, I don't know. Once
Sega
Konami
even.
loses, yeah,
Like
yeah,
none of
Sega.
like the original like big names are there. Like the creator of Mega Man isn't with Capcom. The creator of Final Fantasy isn't even with, you know, with Square Enix, and
Square,
the
yeah,
creator of Sonic isn't even with Sega. Like all these people aren't with them. So Rare like nowadays isn't really like Rare at all, from what I
yeah.
know.
People are like, oh, Rare should make Killer Instinct 3, and I'm like, why? It's not. Unless they outsource it to like NetherRealm Studios or something, it's not going to be good.
And a lot of people
It's
from Rare even left like before they were sold, and they
yeah,
left at the end of the 64, right, to form Free Radical.
I believe so. And I love Free Radical. And to bring this back to the GameCube, we should talk
Mm-hmm.
about Time Splitters.
Oh, so good. It's
Yes,
Time
that is
Splitters. Time
yeah,
Splitters 2 and 3 are probably my favorite first person shooters like ever.
I agree. I have not played 2, which I kick myself about every day, but I have played 3. That's probably my second most played GameCube game. And yeah, it's my favorite first person shooter. Every aspect of that game is just amazing. Like so many first person shooters I feel do not have like a good single player and multiplayer. Well, okay, GoldenEye and Perfect Dark and a couple other
Mm-hmm.
ones, but like I feel like most of the time they don't get one component right, but Time Splitters just blows everything away.
Yeah, it's oh I don't know, it's so good. The first one is really rough around the edges. I don't know if you've ever played it on
Yeah,
PS2.
I've watched a review on it, and it doesn't look like the Time Splitters I know and love.
Yeah, it's really rough around the edges, but 2 is like it's so polished, and I love everything. Like the character design, I love.
Yeah,
You can play as like I know in the third one you can play as like over 300 characters in multiplayer, and
yeah,
people
that's
these are
crazy.
not like SWAT Man 1 and SWAT Man 2. Okay, you can play like a gingerbread man, a duck, a whale, a fish in a fish bowl with mechanical
Yeah,
arms. Uh, what other things? A cactus, a guy that's on
yeah.
fire all the time.
And I should mention, like, all of these things each have, even like the ones that you would think would be generic, they all have like their own voice acting and they all have like their own personalities. So
Yeah.
it really makes multiplayer just extremely replayable just because of how fun the characters are.
Mm-hmm. And there's like what is there's like hippies and zombies and military men and uh, space aliens and this is why I love the game for a couple things. One is the fact that like the character design and overall is very humorous. It's a very
Yeah.
funny
Oh
series,
yeah.
especially three.
I love the humor.
And the other thing is that because the game takes place through time, like I think the earliest level is like what's the earliest ones like Egypt or something. I think the first game had levels in Egypt, and then like the last levels take place in like 2600 or something. So you have weapons and characters and levels from every one of those eras. So you can in multiplayer have like an old Western revolver facing off against somebody with like a plasma rifle, or
Yeah,
like an old fashioned like double barrel shotgun, or like an old like an old like sniper, like a vintage rifle, sniper
yeah.
rifle with like um, what's it called, like a
Bolt action.
yeah, and then like facing off against somebody with like a sci-fi sniper that can like see heat and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
the
And it's
fact
all
that
pretty balanced too. Like that
mm-hmm,
sounds so unbalanced, but the balancing I feel, I mean, you can choose your own weapons and stuff to spawn in multiplayer as well. It's completely customizable, but I feel the balance between the weapons are pretty good.
yeah, definitely. Like yeah, like you said, it does sound really unbalanced to have an old style double barrel shotgun against a like a fast paced SWAT team shotgun, but they all have
Yeah,
like their ups and downs, and you have weapons like bats, flamethrowers, bricks. Oh, and one
yeah,
thing I loved about this game was that if you had a crossbow and you would go up to like a torch in one of the areas, then
yeah,
your arrows would catch fire. So if you this next person you shot with your crossbow would burst into flames. The details like that are just they're fantastic. I love them.
yeah. There's so many, and that level editor is just, oh man, the
Mm-hmm.
levels. I almost had an entire memory card of levels, probably.
Yeah,
I
like
really wish I had the PS2 or Xbox version just because you could share levels. That would have been wow.
yeah, the level editor was so good. Even just to make like I remember one of the levels we made was just like basically like the last one of the last scenes in like the Matrix One, where it's just like a
Yeah,
hallway with like pillars. We basically just made that, and then we made another one that
yeah.
was like every brick, every block, like every square foot of area had four doors on each side, so it's basically just like a huge maze. And
Wow. Yeah, I
um,
made one like that.
did you ever have freezing issues with that?
No, never.
Because mine would freeze quite often, and I don't know if that was just the GameCube version or if that was, I guess, just my memory card or something. Because I
I
haven't read.
played the Yeah, I don't think that's an issue because I played the Xbox and GameCube one extensively, and I've never had that happen.
Yeah, I played.
So
Yeah, I played through the Xbox One as well, actually.
yeah,
Because I had a friend who wanted to play through the game with me. And I was like, fine, I'll play your Xbox version. Anything to play through Time Splitters again. Like that's something
yes,
about it that you can. We would just replay the levels over and over and over. And since I was like a kid, like playing like a 64 or a Super Nintendo game, I never
yeah,
did that. Just like,
me
oh,
neither.
let's play this level again. Oh, let's play the Siberian level again. Let's play the the
Haunted
Mex
Mansion, that was my favorite.
the Haunted Mansion. Yeah, the Haunted Mansion was fun.
Yeah, that was really good.
One thing I have to say though, because you haven't played two, but one thing I miss from two was
Yeah,
that the stats in two are different. Because the stats in three are, um, what are they? There's like electric proof, fireproof, and what's the other
yeah,
one? Um, Speed, I
yeah, I
think.
think so.
In Time Splitters 2, the stats are speed and something else, and then accuracy. So I always played as Harry Tipper,
Yeah, yeah,
um, who's like this guy in like a blue leisure suit from the 60s. And because he had maximum accuracy, so you could go from like the other side of Mexican Mission with like a pistol and like hit people in the head, because there is so like slight auto targeting in those games. Um,
yeah.
so that's why I chose him. And then I go into the next game and he doesn't have that. So I was a little disappointed. And then also in Time Splitters 2, you could have some weapons like double barreled shotguns. So you could
Oh wow.
hold one in each hand. And they took out some of those kind of things as well.
Oh right, yeah. That's kind of like I'd hate to bring this up here, but it's like Halo 2. I remember that being a big thing. So yeah, that's sad they took that out because I know that was really hype for at least that game.
Mm-hmm. It Time Splitters is just so good, but that's not. It's like we said, it's not a GameCube exclusive, but that's
Yeah,
where I played it, and it was
that's where I played it.
so much fun. I played through the campaign so many times, and I think I've the like customizable so great. You can customize like any weapon output you want, any
Yeah,
characters. Like I said, you can have like monkeys versus huge like 10-foot cyborg robots, and
yeah,
any sort of combination of characters you want. And then
yeah. It was great.
the stats on there are great too, because they have stats like how many people you've killed ever. And I
Yeah,
think I have like 20,000 kills or something, which may not be
I'm
a lot.
probably around there.
And
Yeah,
then
I think.
how many hours you've played, every single trophy you have, and how many times you've played as the monkey, because the monkey is cheap.
Yes, the monkey is cheap.
And
We used to be a squad of monkeys.
yeah, I had a on my memory card. I'm still proud to say it still says played as monkey 0 times. I still have not played as him because
Oh wow.
he's too cheap. But I have played as Deadwina, who is like a zombie girl, and she's short,
Yeah,
but she's not as short as the monkey. I don't think. She's
yeah. The monkey is really
the
short.
monkey's like the odd job of this game,
Yes, totally. It is harder
basically.
to get headshots with them, but I mean that's a small price to pay for,
Yeah, I
basically
mean, I always
dodging.
use like shotguns,
Yeah,
basically. So um, yeah, it's not a
that
big
doesn't
issue for
really
me.
matter.
But yeah,
Yeah,
definitely one of my favorite, probably my favorite shooter ever is Time Splitters 3. But Time Splitters 2 is
yes,
still good. It's a little hard to go back to, but I don't know, that's the way it is with most series, right?
right.
And I'm trying to think of other Nintendo franchises.
Yeah, we should get back to Nintendo exclusive goodness. Oh,
uh,
Kirby Air Ride. I really want to talk about that.
yeah, see, because
So,
like I said before, well, I mentioned this to you off the air, was that every time I see that game for a decent price, it doesn't have the manual. I don't know what it is, but every time for years it doesn't have the manual. Maybe the same copy is like following me around the country. I don't know, but
wow.
it can never find it, and I want to get it with the manual.
Oh, dude, honestly, I know completing games is amazing, but this game, if you find it, just get it. Just get 2 copies. Give the one without a manual to a friend or something when you get it, because it is seriously the it's the most underrated game I've ever played that I really like, and I think everyone in the world should like a lot. It's just, I mean, I can't even explain how good it is here. It is
One
just
of the modes, right?
Oh, one of the modes, right, right. So it has 3 modes, and a lot of people look at the air ride mode and they're like, "Oh, it's racing," and the racing is pretty average. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, all you have is one button, and it only like you can drift with it and boost with it and stuff, and it works well. But the racing isn't going to like blow your mind or anything. Then it has RC Pro Am mode, which I like to call it, which is just kind of like a top-down racer type thing, and it's cute for like a mini game, but you won't play it more than like 30 minutes unless you love the cheap 120 achievements tied to it.
Mm-hmm.
But the big mode is City Trial, which just puts you in this city. And I mean, the trial word means you get put in here, and for like 5 minutes, and you can get 7 minutes later on. It's an unlockable for some random reason. Yeah, that's really weird. But you just run around, you try to power up your ship, and you can get new ships. You can get legendary ships if you collect 3 pieces. And the world's really varied too. It has like an ice cave, volcano. I mean, that's polar opposites right there. And everything in between pretty much a city, tons of stuff. And at the end of that, you get to compete in like stadium events. And then whoever has the most powerful ship doesn't necessarily win because there's different power ups like fly, you can get different stats and stuff. And so you can't really prepare. Like, I don't know. It's really fun, really balanced, and with 4 people, it's nothing's better. It's split screen and it's even land, by the way.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it definitely it's something I want to pick up. Um,
Yes, you should, especially if you have someone to play split screen with you. Because single player probably gets boring about after like 10 hours. I'd say would be really dull.
yeah, another racing game actually I wanted to mention was F Zero GX. Have you played that?
Yes.
I
Yeah, but I haven't beat it at all.
I
Not even
haven't played
close.
much of it, but I think what's interesting about it is that it's made by Nintendo and Sega.
Yes, and there's the arcade version AX as well, which is in GX. I think all the levels are in GX, but you have to be basically a god to unlock those. At least I think so. That game is the thing I'll say about F-Zero GX is it's probably the tightest racing game I've ever played, or one of the most. Like it just feels really good to play. But it's so hard for some reason. I don't know what it is, but I don't know if I just suck at it or what.
I'm terrible at it. I only played it for like maybe an hour or so. I ended up getting it um, one day. I think it was like New Year, like Christmas time or some holiday. I went home to my hometown, my small hometown,
Yeah,
and there was I think a movie gallery or some movie store was
yeah.
closing, and they said, "All right, all our used games are now $5." And I'm like,
Well,
"Are you kidding?" And they're like, "No." So I went over. I was like,
wow.
"Oh, they probably don't have anything." They had Pikmin 1, Pikmin 2, F-Zero, Mega Man X Collection.
Oh my God.
Um, what else did they have?
Wow.
They had, yeah, F-Zero GX. Sometimes multiple copies of these. So I ended up getting like two copies of Pikmin. The one didn't work. Like Pokemon, the two Pokemon games like Coliseum and XD. I think one of the Prince of Persia's. I think I got a Sonic game in there, maybe a Monkey Ball game. So I ended
Yeah.
up picking up this stack that was just like maybe like 3 feet tall of like
Wow.
of, of GameCube games, all for $5. And they also had some bongos there, and I was like, "Well, how about the bongos?" And they're like, "Well, that's not really a game." I'm like, "Yeah, but I mean, it's a game accessory." And they're like, "Okay, whatever." So I ended up getting a bongo for $5, and then I immediately
Wow.
drove to the same like branded store, like at the other side of town, and then
Yeah.
they had two more bongos, and they were like, "We can't sell those to you for like we want like the $29 or whatever." And I was like, "But I have the receipt from the other store right here, and they sold it to me for $5. So you kind of have to follow up on that." And they're like, "Fine." So I ended up getting like three sets of bongos, and I think like 15 or so games like that day. Like it was crazy.
Wow.
It's probably like the best deal of like my game purchasing like ever was probably that day. Like I got so much good stuff.
That is really good. Pikmin 2 alone, man, you're so lucky on that one.
I mean, the downside is that a lot of them didn't come like in the original cases, like,
Right.
and they have like blockbuster and like stickers like on them and stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, a game's a game.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna turn my nose up at $5 for Pikmin 2. So
Yeah. It would.
yeah, well, some people would. I could tell you.
Yeah. I guess. I guess, but oh man, that's a good deal, man. You're so lucky getting all of those great games. And that's the other thing I feel about the GameCube is that almost, I mean, okay, there's like Aquaman and Charlie's Angels, but almost if you stick with like the big publisher games, you're almost guaranteed to get a good game there, I think.
Mm, yeah, maybe. I'm looking through my games here, and I would say probably the worst one is okay. Mystic Heroes is pretty bad, but I bought that on a
Oh,
whim. But probably the worst one is The Hobbit.
oh,
I don't know if you've ever played The Hobbit.
no, no.
It's got pretty bad reviews, but I actually really liked it. Um,
Oh, really?
but I mean,
That's interesting.
other than that, I mean, like it's just I think I have 60 or how many games do I have for the GameCube? 60 or somewhere between 60 and 80. I don't know, and they're
Yeah.
all like I would stand by most of them. Like I'm just going through the list here, like Amazing Island, Animal Crossing, Battalion Wars, Beyond Good and Evil, Billy Hatcher, Chaos Field, Ikaruga, Eternal Darkness,
Yeah. Yeah,
Zelda,
that's what I
and
mean. You can't really go wrong with like picking up a GameCube and a ton of high profile games. They're
mm-hmm.
like just there's so much there.
Yeah, there's it's so solid. And the one thing I love about the GameCube too is the ports and remakes. Fantastic.
Like
Like
remake.
not all of these are exclusive, but like you have like the Mega Man Anniversary Collection, which I bought day one. Um,
Yeah, that was a great deal. My brother borrowed it from a friend for a few months, so I played the heck out of it then. Never beat any, but it was fun. I blame the GameCube controller. I thought it was really bad for Mega Man.
I
Like,
honestly I didn't notice, but at that point I hadn't played Mega Man on the NES for like 10 years, so you know
yeah.
I didn't notice. But and then there's like the two Sonic collections. You have Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2, Skies of Arcadia,
Oh yes, guys.
Ikaruga. Like,
Yes,
I mean,
those two.
Ikaruga, it's less significant now because it's on Xbox Live, but hey, whenever your
Right.
Xboxes break in 5 years, my version's still going to
Yes.
work.
Yeah.
Um,
Seriously.
and the remakes on there are good too. Like, have you played the Resident Evil remake, Resident Evil 1?
Right. Yeah. Yes. I actually just picked that up like a couple hours ago. But yes, I have. Or I didn't play it myself, but back on like seriously, its release date, I watched my brother play through the entire thing because for some reason there was this weird double standard where I couldn't play it, but if I watched my brother play it, it was totally cool. So I just watched him beat the whole game. I think I watched both of his playthroughs as like Chris and Jill, and I loved it. That game was like the first game, probably the only game to give me legit nightmares of Lisa Trevor. I won't say much about her because
Oh,
I forget if she's a huge spoiler or not. But
the fact that
yeah, I
I
had
the
some
fact that I
nightmares
know
about
who
her.
you're talking about says something.
Yes,
Because
just the
Resident
Jill gets
Evil
down your
is so
spine.
convoluted, it's hard to remember anybody's names. But I remember Lisa.
Yeah, just the chains. Oh man, that's probably this. I'm not. That might be one of the scariest characters in like any game. Just oh wow.
That game is like
Scary.
it's so good looking
Yeah,
because
it looks like a current gen game practically because of the set pieces. Just kind of like how the PS1 Resident Evil games look really good because of the background. Same thing here.
mhm.
Just looks
It
fantastic.
had a lot of added content in there as well, right?
I mean, it was a whole new game pretty much. So
Yeah,
yeah, after you beat it, you could get. I don't think it had like any sort of like survival mode, but I know you could get a bunch of costumes and weapons to replay the game with. It might have had something like battle mode.
but wasn't that whole part with Lisa and the cabin and stuff? Wasn't that all new? Or
Yeah, that was Lisa was an entirely new component of Resident Evil.
yeah, and I think they had like they added like the red zombies and
Yeah, I think they added a few zombie types, a few weapons. Um, did they I think they re-recorded the entire voice acting.
oh yes, okay, that's the big difference is that they
Yes,
re-recorded the voice acting. So instead of being Barry, where's Barry? And you were almost a Jill sandwich. Like
yes,
they,
they redid the whole thing.
I think they changed a lot of the dialogue too, like not just re-recorded, so it doesn't sound like it came from somebody yelling from a closet. But I
Yeah,
think I think they actually,
worked on the translation properly. I don't
yeah,
know how it plays in Japanese really, but I mean the English one read really weird.
mm-hmm,
Like I don't know, it was like too wordy or something. But that game, a lot of people pass it up because they're like, oh, it's just Resident Evil 1 in HD. No, it is so different from
mm-hmm.
Resident Evil
It's
1.
like
And
completely from the ground up remade.
yeah, and it's probably the best example of a remake. What's funny coming from Capcom, who recently released Resident Evil 4 HD and Code Veronica X
Yeah,
HD, which they I don't think they did anything with them except like upscale them maybe. They're really bad.
yeah.
Like
That's
to be
something
called
else I
remakes.
have is I have all the Resident Evils on the GameCube.
Yeah, you can get every single one except their original Resident Evil 1, I think, on the GameCube, which is quite impressive.
Yeah, because I have RE2, RE3, 0, 4.
X
I don't have Veronica X. That's the only one I don't have. And then I have the original remake, which is
remake.
so good. And
Yeah,
also
that's
uh, the Twin Snakes. Have you played Twin Snakes?
yes, I beat that over the summer in 3 days. And I was on All Gen Gamers over Christmas, and I remember they talked about Metal Gear for like, well, we all talked about it for 15 minutes, and I'm like, oh, I played Peace Walker, and that's it. And I just felt really embarrassed for saying that. So over, like, as soon as I could, well, after I got graduation money, I instantly bought that. I luckily found it at a Game Swap for $20 in box. It didn't have the manual, but
Right.
for $20, that's a that's a fairly rare game. So I
Mm-hmm.
picked it up and I beat it probably in 4 days, which Metal Gear isn't too long.
No,
But for me, that's pretty good. I usually take my time with games, but I like I love the story in it. I know the story gets really screwed up, and I even know that one was like really over the top or something, right? Like
I've only played the original and then the Twin Snakes, which is the original remake. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And but anyways, yes, I enjoyed that game so much, and I'm desperately trying to get the HD collection for my PS3 now.
I don't even know why they brought over those ports, because they didn't have much reason to. Like those are really high profile. Like a remake, two remakes of like some of the highest regarded games on the PlayStation One.
Wait a sec. Metal Gear's Konami.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, Capcom and Konami, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. Yeah, I get you now. But Capcom, I think was like I don't want to. Yeah, kind of tied to the GameCube. Is Resident Evil Zero, which I completely forgot about until now. That was in development for the N64, but then they moved it to the GameCube. So I'm thinking
right.
maybe they were developing that for the GameCube. They're like, you know what? This is really fun to develop. We should do this with like Resident Evil 1 and see what we can do with the GameCube hardware or something.
Yeah, maybe that
Like
makes sense.
yeah, theory.
Zero's an okay game. I
I bought it, but I haven't played it. I let one of my roommates play it, and apparently the second disc freezes. That's like my biggest pet peeve with gaming ever. So I'm probably just gonna have to get another copy.
mm,
But did he play it? Did he beat it?
yeah, I mean like back near whenever it came out, so I don't have the best recollection of it. But I remember liking it. I think
Right.
the biggest problem people had with it was that the story wasn't um, very Resident Evil-y because it has to do more with like slugs than zombies. But
Oh,
and you have two characters that you switch between. I think it
yeah.
will, but they're like in different areas. So it's a lot more like I think you'd have to like get this person to walk over here to open the door for this other person kind of thing. I don't really remember, but I remember enjoying it. I didn't think it was bad.
Yeah, it seems very experimental for the series, but I mean, I think it worked out okay. It sounds like it worked out all right.
Yeah.
So that's
Well,
good.
yeah. Well, I guess people aren't wouldn't complain about it nowadays. That's for sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally. But the Action Shooter 6. Although Revelations, my buddy, has a lot of playtime on that, and he said that's actually really, really good.
It looks good. I've tried the demo, but I I mean it's a pretty expensive game. So
Apparently, it's been 20 bucks a few times before around here on Amazon. Just
yeah,
keep your eye on Amazon during the holidays. I'm sure it'll drop back down to 20.
Amazon.com.
Dot .ca, I guess for you.
Oh
But yeah.
yeah. Well, dot .ca and .com are very different things for
Oh,
Amazon.
really? I never really. I mean, I've never even cared about .ca really. But
Amazon, yeah, because I can't order from Amazon.com. They don't let you.
right.
You only have to buy from Amazon.ca, and Amazon.ca almost never has good deals. It
Oh,
does
that
like
sucks.
on like pre-released like books. It does. Like I bought like Hyrule Historia, but
Right.
it's everything is cheaper on Amazon.ca, and they don't really have good deals on games because people will be like, "Oh man, this amazing game is like $4.99. Go buy it, brand new." And I'm like, "Sweet," and I go, and it's like $49 in Canada. So yeah,
Oh, man.
no hope there.
Dang, man, that is. Oh, Amazon has a lot of my money or sellers on there.
Did you seeing as you were a fan of Time Splitters, did you play Second Sight?
No, is that something I should know of? I don't even know what it is.
Well, it's made by Free Radical,
Cool.
so it's I played a bit of it. It was one of the that and some of the games that I lost like in my memory card
Yeah,
debacle, like Paper Mario and Second Sight and stuff. I never started again because
right.
I didn't I didn't have the heart. But
Right. I
uh,
know how that is. Yeah.
um, but Second Sight is basically it's a I think I mean it's been a while, but I think it's a third person shooter where you like wake up in a facility and you were tested on or something. So you like gain like psychic powers as you go along.
Oh, I
And
think I vaguely remember that game.
yeah, I think from what I played, I liked. I mean,
Cool.
it's been a long time, but that was one that was good. Have you played Cubivore?
No.
Do you know what
What I
Cubivore is?
no.
Really? Okay, that's the game by published by Atlas here, and it's
Right.
probably one of the weirdest games on the GameCube, if not one of the weirder ones that I've ever played. And basically, the concept it's one of the rarer ones too. It's like $30 usually.
Probably why I never picked it up.
You play as like a cube, and you go around in this world where most things are made of cubes. Like even if you jump in water, the ripples are cube shaped,
Wow, that's cool.
and the sun is a cube, the moon is a cube,
Is, is it
clouds.
is it Minecraft before Minecraft?
No, it's not like that. It's not like building blocks.
No, okay.
Um, and basically, you like eat grass and then eat like other animals, and then if you eat like another purple cube, then you get gain purple, and then if you get a lot of the same color, then you mutate, and then if you eat people that have limbs, then you gain limbs. It's really weird,
That
and
sounds crazy.
and the thing is that because you get like a limb is just like a flap basically, so you can have like a limb as like just a flap like on the back of your head, and as you walk you like basically flail around. It's really weird, and
It's
it's
weird.
it's not necessarily good, I would say, but it's definitely worth checking out. Check out some gameplay of Cubivore. I've played it for about 3 hours, and honestly it's starting to tire, but the first like hour or so is just like so interesting that it's almost like worth just getting it just for that. Like it has one of the really it has like a script that was very clearly like almost directly translated. Like it'll say stuff
Oh,
like, "Oh man, what a big day! Like between being born and eating all those other cubivores, like today was really rough," and stuff like that. And it'll talk about like getting some good lovin' because at the end of certain levels you have to mate, and you eat hearts to gather more females, and then
wow.
as you mate with the females, like the more hearts you have, the more percentage of them will have children, and then each child will be a mutation, and you get to choose which one you want to be.
Oh, it sounds like you probably don't know about this yet, but Tokyo Jungle has a mechanic like that. That's a recent PlayStation Network game, came out a couple weeks ago, and kind of the same thing. You can only survive as an animal for 15 minutes, so you have to mate and have kids follow you around. Then when your animal dies in 15 minutes, you take control of one of the kids. So yeah, it
Kind of similar, but really
yeah,
weird.
yeah, I understand. I think I understand the concept of it. See, it seems really experimental, but pretty cool. I don't think I'd pay $30 for it, but if
No,
I
no,
ever
but
see it,
if you ever see it, or at least it's worth like watching a little bit of gameplay just to see
yeah,
how
I'll
weird it
definitely
is.
check it out.
One game we didn't mention that usually the GameCube conversations go towards is Luigi's Mansion, because you said you bought it
Right.
on or you played it like on launch, right?
Um, yeah, a little bit. Honestly, I didn't play it that much. Once we got Melee, I didn't care about it at all. But I picked it up over the summer for $3, which is pretty good, I think, for that game.
Oh
And
yeah,
I beat it. I beat it over this summer. And I gotta say, it's pretty fun to play through once, but I have no desire to play through it again anytime soon. I think it's just kind of like a fun 10-hour game to maybe like back in the day, maybe to like rent over the weekend, but I don't think it has the staying power that most Mario themed games have.
no, it's definitely not as good as like a Sunshine or something, but
Yeah.
um, hmm, but like I don't know. I still really enjoy it. I think I've played through it 2 or 3 times, and I'm planning on playing it like next week because usually what I do is I do a run through it, um, like every few years or so around Halloween, because it's one of those
Yeah.
like kind of Halloween themed games, which is why I'm not buying Luigi's Mansion 2 on 3DS until like next Halloween because it's coming out what like November or first quarter next year or something.
Think it's like March or something, a really weird time.
Yeah,
But
like
yeah, I'm gonna wait on
I'm gonna
that one.
wait till October to play it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I really like it. I mean, There's a button that you press that makes him wail Mario's name. Like, what more do you need?
Yeah, it's a fun game. I'll probably eventually go back and once you beat it, I know you unlock like the upgraded um what is that? What's it called? The Ghostbuster gun. I don't know.
The Poltergust?
Yeah, the Poltergeist. Right, right. I couldn't think of that. I think once you beat it, you get like harder enemies than that. So I'll play it through again, um, for that experience. But I'm gonna wait a little while.
What I did the first time I got it, because I got this like years and years after it came out, is I knew that it was really short. And there's like, what,
Yeah.
30 ghosts in the game or something? So what I did,
Um. Yeah.
oh, it's around like 20 to 30 or something. What I did
Yeah.
was, or major ghosts, I mean, like bosses.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Um,
There's 50 views, and then yeah, like there he
yeah,
goes.
there's booze, and then there's like the big, I don't know what you'd call them, the boss ghosts or whatever, the special
Yeah.
ones. I told
Yeah.
myself that I would only catch one of those a day. So I would play for like sometimes like 15 or like 20 minutes and then catch a ghost and say, well, that's what I'm doing. I'm done for the day. And then so I ended up extending my play for like almost a month, and
Wow.
maybe that really affected how things went down for me. But something
Yeah.
that that did for me as well was, I don't know if this was time based on the GameCube's internal clock or if it was based on just me getting lost because I kept forgetting like where I was. But there were some things in the game that would change throughout. Like I remember if you water this plant, there's like a plant in the backyard and you go and water it, and then it doesn't really do much. But then if you water it like a couple more times after a certain amount of time, then it eventually blooms into like a flower, and like tons of money and like jewels and stuff shoot out. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you can do that like just by playing it like straight for like 5 or 6 hours or something, but
Yeah. I played. I got it over the summer, and woke up or I started playing at 1, and I beat it at 8 o'clock. So I did exactly what you said you didn't do. I just ran through the entire game, and I mean, I had a good time the whole time. So I'll give it that for sure. That it can keep your attention the whole time if you want it to. But
mm-hmm.
there's definitely points where I almost put it down for a bit. Like there's a couple the last two bosses I thought were pretty frustrating and huge difficulty spikes for at least first time players. It's probably easier after you play it a few times.
Yeah, some of them are like their health is really really high.
Yeah.
I remember chasing one boo for the longest time. It was like the last boo, and he kept going from room to room, and I almost like freaked out and threw the game down because he kept flying into a room that I didn't have the key to. So then
Wow.
I'd have to like run around and like wait for him to come out, and then I'd go, ah, I got you, and then I'd get like 2 health, and he'd just like go back into that room, and I flipped out.
Oh wow. Yeah. Jeez, I didn't get all 50 views my first time. So I mean I have a few reasons to replay it.
You can beat it without getting all the boos?
Yeah, you only need 40 to beat it. I think I got 45 though. So
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Hmm.
Yep. They get progressively harder, I think, after each boo. Like that the last boo, like you said, was probably had an insane amount of health and probably flew around a lot.
Yeah, he was being a jerk. I was really getting angry. Oh, when he would fly through the floor too. So he'd
Yeah.
go through the
I,
floor like into the basement, and then I need to go through like the entire mansion to get to the basement, and then I'd walk into the room and he'd just fly up, and it just, I was so
wow.
angry. Technically though, like tech like technically, I think it's a pretty solid game, like graphics and sound and everything wise.
Yeah, I love how interactive everything is. It's
Mm-hmm.
just a really interactive game.
Yeah, and I love how like whenever your health goes down, like Luigi starts like shivering, and he whenever he's whistling the theme song, his voice is like shaking, or whatever he calls for Mario. His voice is all shaking, and he's getting all afraid. And like you get down to like 5 health, and he's basically just like wailing for Mario.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite voice acting job of Charles Martinet. I think he did a lot more in that game than any other game. He
Oh, for
really
sure.
brought that experience to life. And I'm excited for his voice acting in the sequel. So I think it can be really good.
Yeah, I haven't really kept up too much on the sequel because I know I'm gonna get it either way. So
Yeah,
I don't want to like spoil anything for myself. But
right.
um, one thing you briefly mentioned, which I want to touch back on, is whenever we were talking about the connectivity, you
Yeah,
talked about Pac-Man Versus.
right.
Have you played a lot of that?
No, I have actually never played it because I got Pac-Man World 2. I got it on the Xbox, and then last Christmas actually my buddy got me it on the PS2. So, well, it came bundled with a few other games, but no, I've never played it.
Oh, it's so fun. It's one of the experiences on the GameCube, like the multiplayer experiences, that's really, really great. Um,
Yeah, it seems amazing for multiplayer. I almost bought it by itself for a few times, and I almost kicked myself when I found out it was like distributed for free through like EB Games or something. Like, why
really?
did I not pick that up?
Huh.
Yeah, apparently, and it was like pretty popular. It was like everywhere. I'm like, what possessed me not to pick this up or not to find
I've
out
had a
about this?
really big problem getting people to play that game with me. Like in like university or like afterwards, I'd get people in a room and I'd get them to finally sit down and play Pac-Man Versus. I was like, this is amazing, and I'd play it for like 10 minutes and they'd all be bored, and I hated that. But whenever my brother's friends and my brother were like still coming over to my place before we all moved away, we'd play that game all the time. It's so much fun.
Yeah, that game seems like a big party game. I would have loved it back when it was popular.
And
I know nowadays, nowadays. Oh yeah, Charles, what? No, you were gonna. Yeah,
yeah, I was gonna say Charles does the voice in there too, and he's hilarious because he's not voicing like Mario because Mario's not in that game, but he's like the announcer and he does the voice of Mario. So like a cherry will pop up and he'll be like, "Ooh, a fruit appeared." So you'd go, or if you are Pac-Man and you're like running away and the ghosts are about to get you, he's like, "Ooh, this not look so good." It's like it's hilarious. I love it.
yeah. That game's also on the DS through Namco Museum DS, but that's probably not the same thing. Probably not as good. But I mean, that's just the second way you can play it.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's single card play too, which makes it slightly easier to get a game together for people.
Okay,
Is
well,
I
I
mean,
know I have to buy that now. That was what Namco.
Namco Museum DS. It's really cheap too. I
Hmm.
should pick it up myself. Has like Pac-Man and Galaga, and it only has like 8 games plus that, but
Oh,
still
I
not
would
bad.
buy it just for Pac-Man Versus. I freaking love
Yeah,
Pac-Man Versus. Or
yeah. So
keep going.
no, no, I didn't have anything to say really.
And then the other game that I really really enjoyed is Crystal Chronicles, which you probably haven't. Like nobody's played Crystal Chronicles.
Nope.
No, because everybody hates it or hated on it
I
back in the day. It's because one, it's on the GameCube, which everyone hated.
mm,
Two, it
yeah,
used the connector cables, which people hated. Three, it was Final Fantasy, but it wasn't like the traditional Final Fantasy, so it was different. So it was a new take on a franchise. So people didn't like it because of that. Just everybody hated this game before they even played it, and it's actually like one of my favorite games on the GameCube. It has my favorite soundtrack of any game ever. Um,
wow.
it's it's a lot of fun. I didn't play through the game 4 player. I played some parts 4 player, um, probably about half of it 3 player, and then I played through the rest of it 2 player. So
Oh,
it,
that's cool.
yeah, I mean, everyone always mentions like the Penny Arcade comic every time somebody talks about this game, where he's like, "Oh man, I have to buy this game, and then I have to buy 4 Game Boy Advances, and then 4 connector cables, and I have to hire four
Yeah,
people to come to my house and play it with me, and then I gotta buy a
yeah,
house, and like, it's so ridiculous." Because remember, like we mentioned before, who didn't have a Game Boy Advance?
yeah.
Like
That seems really. I mean, that would have been easy back then to set up a game. I don't see how that would be a problem.
it wasn't. I think there were two friends that I played it with, and then I also played it with my family members. So
Yeah.
transferring your character from one memory card to another was a little tricky because when you brought it back, you wouldn't have your items or your experience or anything, which is weird. But
That's odd.
it was still a lot of fun, and people also didn't like the chalice thing where you can't go outside of the circle. But I wouldn't be surprised if they put that just on there just because of technical like requirements, right? Because they don't want you running everywhere. At
Yeah,
least
I
on
mean that's
screen.
totally the reason why they did it. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess some people couldn't see that, but I wouldn't fault it at all for having something like that. The
No.
thing is, none of my friends would have ever played that with me. They're not RPG gamers, and I am a very picky RPG gamer, so that wasn't really one we'd look for. But I'm sure it's a really solid game. Like, I wouldn't, I'd never hate on it. It's just not
Hmm.
really my thing.
I mean, it's an action RPG, but because it's Final Fantasy, you still have to grind. But their form of
Yeah,
grinding, instead of going into random battles, is redoing levels. So
yeah,
it can be repetitive in that sense. But like I said, I still found it a lot of fun. And
yeah.
anybody who's listening and has the opportunity to play it the way it was meant to, so like at least two players, maybe even three or four, um, do so, and hopefully you won't be disappointed. And if you're not going to play the game, at least download the soundtrack because the soundtrack I think is fantastic. It's like I said, my favorite soundtrack of any game.
I will definitely do that as well. I'm excited to listen to the sounds of that.
Yeah, I'm probably like
Sounds
hyping it up, and you'll listen to it and think it's garbage, but you know, different, different, different tastes, right? Was so just just to kind of wrap it up. If there's any other, if there's any, well, not wrap it up, start to wind down. If there's any other like really big gems or games that you think are really amazing on the system, or that you even
uh
got a lot of play out of that aren't amazing.
yeah, I'll mention Double Dashers. That's one people always like to talk about.
Oh yeah.
And
See, that's why that was one of the franchises, but I don't own that one, so that's why I didn't mention it. That it's one of the
oh, yeah.
franchises that they I guess took a different take on.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I forgot about it for a while. But yeah, I really like Double Dash, and I know it's insanely or I don't think it's insanely overpriced, but it is expensive and I probably wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
recommend it for 30. But it is a pretty good Mario Kart game and there's nothing really wrong with it at all. It's the only thing that I would say is like I don't know, it's Mario Kart again, but it's a lot more solid than like Mario Kart 64. I think it has the best kart control in any game, just like how it feels and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really polarizing back in the day because of the double mechanic, I guess. But honestly, it's not intrusive to the gameplay at all, and like it
No,
doesn't
that's the
change
thing. You
anything.
don't have to use the double mechanic at all. Like
Yeah,
if you wanted to just play by yourself or even play four player, which each person has their own cart, you can. Like every other Mario Kart game, you can play it the same way. Like there's
yeah, like the double mechanic doesn't do anything at all in terms
mm-hmm.
of gameplay. So I never understood why I got hate for that because it was a non-issue. Like, what a dumb thing to hate on.
Yeah, and I love the double mechanic. I mean, I use it all the time because playing four player with that and having like each person, like two people per cart, I found was a lot of fun because it had a lot of like strategizing where you'd be like, okay, I got a green shell, so move this way, and I'll move left. Okay, fire, and then it kind of gave it like a fighter pilot kind of, you know, kind of feel. I thought it was a
Yeah,
lot of
that was
fun.
really fun.
I had a
Yeah,
blast doing that, and I loved how also the items in that because you had special items
yeah,
like Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong would have a giant banana which they'd throw, and then if you hit that, it would break up into three smaller bananas. Or Baby Luigi and Baby Bowser had the giant chain chomp that would pull you. So it had a lot of
yeah,
strategy. That's what I loved about it because picking your characters mattered more, especially
yeah.
since you
Oh,
had
totally.
two. So what I would do is I would take like red Koopa, so I would get three red shells, and then I would
Yeah,
take I think Toad, so you'd have
yeah,
the golden
Toad.
mushroom boost. So that was like my
Yeah, that was a
combo,
good combo.
and I don't know, like it had a lot of good, it had a lot of great new characters. Like it had like I said, like Diddy and Baby Mario, Baby Luigi, Petey Piranha, uh, King Boo I think was in there, and Bowser and Baby Bowser, and Wario and Waluigi, and then it had like some pretty sweet items, some good maps, and then it had like strategy in it for picking your characters and everything. And I don't know, I just thought it was really solid, and it's my favorite Mario Kart that like I've ever played, despite the fact that I don't own it because I played my brother's copy, and like I said, I like you said, I haven't found a copy for a good price. Like I usually see it at like 40, and I like it, but
Yeah,
I,
it's not worth that at all.
no,
But
I don't think so.
it's up there for me. It's the first three. I I probably have a different favorite out of the first three every week. I'm so and DS, like I always change my opinion on them, but that's definitely in that cycle of great Mario Kart games that I love to death.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't know. It's just the hate. I don't understand the hate. The one series actually that kind of has been going downhill, and other people don't agree with this, was the Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. Did you
Yeah.
play that one?
Um, my roommate is forcing me to play it right now in lieu of Paper Mario Sticker Star, so I've played like the introduction level. And so far I think it's good. It's a good sequel to the original, it seems like.
Yeah, I don't think anything can live up to the original. Like the original is probably one of my favorite RPGs. It's so good. It's so
Yeah, I
charming.
love the original.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's I think the sequel, I mean, even if I turn out not liking it as much, I don't think I'd say I wasted my time with it. It seems like you know, a sequel.
Yeah, I haven't gone back because it was part of the memory card erasing. I was like probably a third through the game, and then
Right.
there goes my file. And you lose the will to restart whenever you have like brand new games to play. You're like, oh, I can restart this game and play all that same stuff again, or I can
Yeah.
just play a brand new game. So,
Yeah, that's my mentality with it too.
and Custom Robo was a multiplayer game I played a lot with my brothers as well. Did you play that?
No, is that cheap? I might actually pick it up if I ever find it. But I always kind of wanted it, but never got it.
Um, I don't know if it's cheap. I wouldn't expect it to be too expensive. It's not very high profile, and I don't think it's
Yeah.
rare. So, it,
Yeah, I'd love that type of game though. And you could really you could, well, as the title suggests, couldn't you customize really well?
hmm the thing is, like the single player is kind of okay, and
Uh,
the problem is the multiplayer. Like you have no options in multiplayer until you unlock a lot of it in single player. So
oh,
you have to kind of like grind through the single player one or maybe even two times if you wanted to get all
oh,
the unlockables. But
yeah,
then whenever you're in multiplayer, yeah, you can have. It's basically, for those who don't know, it's like an arena match between 2 to 4 people, and you
yeah,
basically throw your customized robots in there. So you customize like their speed, their body, which affects like their speed and their health, and you can affect their weapons. And there's tons of different kinds of weapons. You can have like a machine gun or like a weapon that basically just like turns your hand into like a big spike, and so it's really close range. Or you can have one that shoots up from the ground, and then you can affect like their boots, so how much they can jump and hover. And we had tons of fun playing that. 2 player, it's not very good to be honest. I
uh,
don't think so, but 3 or 4
yeah.
player is tons of fun, tons and
Does
tons
it
of
have
fun.
bots in it, like multiplayer bots?
No, it doesn't.
Well, it has the single player, which I mean, I guess serves a similar purpose, but I could get some people to play with me, I bet, if I find it.
So long as you have stuff to unlock and or unlocked, and I don't right now because again memory card erasing. So
That
I
that
remember
so
trying to
sucks.
go. I remember trying to go play it multiplayer, and then I have like the one robot with like no customizable options. Like, well, never mind. Let's let's not play this.
Yeah,
Just it's really not worth playing unless you've unlocked it all. Because I mean, it's called custom robo, not everyone with the same robo. So,
right.
mm-hmm.
Mm.
So I'm trying.
All right,
I'm just, sorry, keep going.
yeah. Metroid Prime is the other game. I don't think I just mentioned you can play the original on it, and that's it. But I like that game, but I would still say I like the Game Boy Advance and the Super Nintendo one better. But I think for radically changing how the series plays, I think it turned out pretty well. I haven't played the sequel, and I haven't beat the first one, but
Yeah, I
I
mean,
would say it's pretty good.
I'm not a big fan of Metroid, just because I haven't really played it. I played the first Metroid game for the first time like this year, so
Uh,
I'm kind of behind. But my understanding from Metroid fans is that like
yeah,
they couldn't have done a better job, like turning it to 3D.
yeah, I agree with that statement. I mean, I can't think of how else it could have worked. Like they retained everything great about it, but I just still prefer the 2D ones, honestly.
Yeah, well, that's fine. That's
Yeah, yeah, different strokes for different folks, right?
yeah. I'm actually like I'm trying to. I want to play. I have the trilogy on Wii, which is why I don't have them on GameCube. There's no point in owning them
Right.
twice.
Yeah.
But I want to play Super Metroid, but I can't find it at a decent price. It's like stupid overpriced everywhere. So
Yeah.
I just, uh, I don't know. Oh, but Soul Calibur. You did mention Soul Calibur, and
Right.
clearly the GameCube one is the best.
Is the best, of course.
Well,
It has the hero of time.
I mean, yeah, it has Link, but the thing is, the GameCube controller makes it really hard to play fighting games.
Yeah.
As much
There
as,
was never
as
there was never a fighting stick for the GameCube.
maybe I don't remember ever seeing one anywhere.
I don't remember seeing one, but that would have been a good idea.
Yeah, because the controller, the way it's laid out, I mean, it's very non-standard in the sense
Yeah.
that like the A button's huge, and then there's a tiny B button. I mean, it's kind of an extension or like an evolution of the 64 controller in that way.
Yeah.
And then the X and Y are on the side, which I actually really like for every other game except for fighting games, because
Really? Yeah, I actually like that because like the standard PlayStation controller, hitting triangle in Soul Calibur was a bit hard, at least for me. So I kind of liked how everything was in one central area. You could easily access other buttons. The only problem was really that the B button was just small. But I think
mhm.
I changed that to the guard or whatever. And I made the triggers the guard and it wasn't a big deal. But
Yeah, I really like the layout because it's like you can feel the difference, and visually they're very different as well. You got two small, like a really small red button and then a big green button and then two medium-sized gray like beans. So
yeah,
it's I really like that about it. And then the problem probably with the GameCube is that the D-pad's a little small
yeah, I
because
don't like the D-pad at all.
it's more for secondary functions, and same with the C stick is small as well because they were looking at it, I think, more as a secondary function thing, kind of like a second D-pad instead of like dual analog, right?
Right.
But
Yeah, it didn't work too well in Time Splitters, although luckily that game was so good I could overlook it, but I definitely would have preferred a different way to aim.
I honestly didn't notice until I started playing like 360 or something, because
Yeah,
I don't like PlayStation dual analog. I don't like that, but
right.
I prefer like one like your left one higher than your right one, like on the 360 or the GameCube. So I didn't notice that the C stick was smaller. Really, I mean, obviously I noticed, but it didn't bother me at all until I started playing like 360. So to me, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
In two other games, I just want to mention that a really good multiplayer is
hmm
Monkey Ball was one.
Monkey Ball. Yes, I played a lot of that on Xbox. I got the deluxe version. That
Yeah,
was really fun.
yeah, I have the deluxe version as well, which is why I don't own the first Monkey Ball, but I've had the second Monkey Ball on GameCube for like forever because that was another one where my brother's friends would come over and playing like monkey bowling and monkey
Yeah,
golf and stuff.
yeah, I like the target mini game a lot.
And the physics are so bad in that game that
Yeah, I know.
which is which is why like for like an on-running joke, like sometimes it still comes up is when something like physics wise doesn't work out, we just call it monkey physics because because of Monkey Ball. And then
Yes.
another really good one uh, is Mario Party.
Uh,
And like I mentioned to you off off camera, was
ooh.
I really like Seven, and
Yes, me too. I think seven's great.
I haven't played any of the other GameCube ones other than Four, which I really didn't like. It's really
Yeah, I
not
didn't
good.
like that one at all.
Just the maps are just like they don't make sense because they try to integrate this mechanic of you eat a big mushroom and you get big, and you eat a small mushroom and you get small, and then you can use this to access different areas. But
Yeah,
because you're on a huge board, the chances of you like getting that mushroom and getting to that area are really low. And even if
yeah,
you do, like the reward is so tiny, it's not even worth it. So they try to like shoehorn in this huge like this mechanic that doesn't add anything to it at all.
right.
And the maps are kind of boring, and I don't know. After playing 7, which is really good. Like
Yeah,
I love all the mini games pretty much in 7.
yeah. I think I actually went back and looked at it, and I think I like most of them too. I said before I only like half of them, but I think I like more like 90% of them looking back. They're pretty good.
Mhm. And one of the best things about it was the 8 player, which, uh, for people that don't know and are wondering how you would play 8 player Mario Party, each player holds half a controller. So
Yeah,
it's you need 8 people and then it's 4 controllers. So like I would hold the left and then you know someone else would hold the right, and then you use that to play. I don't remember the mini games much. I remember one being like one of them like each person controls a machine's like leg or something,
yeah,
and you have to press the buttons, and then sometimes you because each of you has an analog stick, and you can
right.
control certain things, and so it's usually both people control like one type of vehicle or something from what I remember. I only did it once during a New Year's party many years ago, and
Yeah,
it was a blast.
yeah, that game's fun.
Having 2 people share one controller is like it's a lot of fun to get people to play. And it's not the full game; it's more of like a mini game, um, like Gauntlet kind of, I guess.
Yeah,
From what I remember, you're basically trying to get to like the top of some tower or something like that. Or
yeah, it's just one of the minigame gauntlets that are everywhere.
yeah, but it's actually fun.
Yeah, yeah, it was really fun. Everything about that game was fun. Like, man, I can't wait to play it again.
Was that another one that you just picked up?
Yep, I just picked it up today. So I'm excited. I'm excited to play that one as well.
What else did you get? Just those two?
Monkey Ball 2
Well,
as
why'd
well.
why'd you get it on a GameCube if you have the Xbox One?
I don't have it anymore. I did sell all of my original Xbox stuff to get a Wii, funny enough. But yeah,
Oh, okay. Yeah,
yeah.
because the deluxe one. How are the controls on the Xbox One? Because I got it, but then I never had time to play it. I got deluxe, but because it was originally made for the GameCube, I don't know. Are the controls okay?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, yeah, I did the really hard level with I don't know. I think it maybe forced you to play as baby, or maybe that's who it says. But it's like called Catwalk or whatever. I beat that one quite a few times, where you have to go on a really narrow path. So, I mean, I guess it's serviceable.
yeah, I'm terrible at that game. But you might notice I say I'm terrible at a lot of games. I can never stick to something long enough to be really good at it.
I'm that way too with a lot of games.
Yeah, I don't know why.
I just want to play. Yeah,
Yeah, I just
I
want to
just
play the
want
next thing, right?
to. I just want to play as much as I possibly can, and I never really spend time with one game
Yeah,
to get great
except
at it.
except for like Brawl. I've played like probably 300 hours of Brawl, so
Oh yeah,
a lot of hours of that.
yeah.
And did you play just last thing? I swear. Did you play Four Swords?
Yes, I have. I do have Four Swords Adventures. Sadly, I only maxed out at 3 players, but that was really fun.
Mm-hmm. That was a lot of fun too. I find that the game itself isn't too great, but the
Yeah,
fact that you can use it to play with other people in that way is a lot of
yeah.
fun. Like playing 4 player Zelda is so much fun because
I know.
like in the like concept art, you have like a picture of like Red Link like using like a fire staff to burn Blue Link, who's trying to throw a bomb, and then this other Link is off doing whatever. And that's what the game is like, where basically everyone is like, if you have the right kinds of people, it's a lot of fun. Everyone's just like attacking each other, and then there's points in the game where you're like, all right, everybody, get together. We actually have
Yeah,
to do something now, and the puzzles were pretty fun too. But playing it by yourself it's not that enjoyable,
yeah. It's not the best.
and it's pretty hard to play by yourself too because there's a couple puzzles where you need to like separate all your links out and like go walk them on different things, and it's time consuming.
Yeah, I'd say it's not really hard, but it's really annoying.
Hmm.
I'd say.
But I must say I really like how they did the graphics.
Yeah, the graphics are great.
I don't know why they did that, but it's basically just like a Super Nintendo graphics, but they also use like like high graphic effects. So like
Yeah,
smoke or um, like a magic beam or something will like distort the area in like a really high quality way, but it'll still be
yeah,
like Super Nintendo graphics.
yeah. I
And
think that looks really cool. I wish
it,
that style would be popularized.
yeah, I found the mix really interesting. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, like I said, unless you can get at least two people together to play that game, it's not really worth it. And these days, I mean, it's hard to get people to sit down and play GameCube. So
Yeah, definitely. I really wish there was an easy way. I just want to strap a GameCube onto my back with one of the TVs and just always have it because it's just so hard to get people to play it.
mm-hmm. And
It's so good.
I don't know what it was because like back in the day, everyone would play it left and right. Then nowadays, I mean, if you're not connected to Xbox Live, like people don't really seem to care about it, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's probably the multiplayer system I put the most amount of time into. Because I mean, the 64 and the Wii both actually also have a lot of really good multiplayer games, but I don't know the ones in the GameCube. But it might just be because of my experiences, but I feel like they have a lot more gameplay out of them, and people are also more willing to play. Like nowadays, people aren't. Well, not a lot of people are willing to play Wii, and I don't
Yeah.
know. The 64 probably didn't have as many multiplayer games. I could be wrong. Maybe I just didn't own as many.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with it, but thinking about it, we only cycled through like 6 games, so I don't know.
So, any last words on the GameCube?
It was just a great little console. I felt like it was every high profile, high publisher game was just really, really good. And if you've never owned one, still think it's a great time to get one. I think they're like $30 with a controller nowadays. Games are actually sometimes more pricey than the console themselves, but totally worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
Yeah, for sure. And I would agree with that. And I would also add that yes, pretty much every Nintendo franchise on there is different. But if you go with them to them with an open mind and not just think, oh, this isn't like the last one, then I think that you'll really enjoy it more. Um, all the Mario Karts and Mario and Zelda and like some of my favorite games of all time are on this system, and
Yeah.
they're it's a lot of these games still hold up really well. Um, and there's a lot of interesting things you can do with it, like with the Game Boy Player and the connectivity and Donkey Konga and Mario DDR. There's a lot of interesting things you could do with this, and I just it just bothers me sometimes that this was like quote unquote the loser of last generation. Um,
Yeah, it was really great for a lot of reasons.
yeah.
And
Well, at least we have each other, right? We know we can share our love for this system, but
right.
I wish it got more love, especially these days. And nowadays, like people think that it's completely obsolete because of the Wii, but I mean,
Yeah, I like it. I said this before and we shouldn't go into it, but I like it better than the Wii personally. My Wii is practically a GameCube that can play a couple games. I, but yeah, I mean, it's just a really good Nintendo console, I think. One of my favorites.
yeah. So anybody out there, pick up a GameCube, pick up some games, and maybe what we'll do is actually you have a video of your like it's not your top 10, right? It's just your top 10 underrated.
Yeah, it's underrated. Like I avoided like Melee and I mean it would be so predictable if I picked like Melee and Twin Snakes and all that. So I picked like underrated games that nobody really talks about. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have my games list is up on GameSpot. I'll put a link underneath here, and I would recommend pretty much every game on my list. Like I said, I have like 60 or something, and I would recommend, like I said, almost every one. There's obviously stuff that people aren't gonna like Sonic Heroes, or people really don't like, and Star Fox. Some people aren't too crazy about, but I
Yeah.
would still recommend most of the games on there. At least 90% of those are super solid. So
Yeah.
check that
Oh yeah,
out.
that's GameCube.
And
Yeah, and
if you have anybody has any questions about any of the games or any recommendations, like please feel free to ask because I love uh, I love sharing the love for the system.
yeah, me too. I'll make sure to look at the comments and if you guys have any questions for me, I'll definitely try to reply to them because again, I love the GameCube as well. It's just so much fun to talk about.
Yeah, or just head over to your channel, right?
Yeah,
Or
to my top 10 underrated GameCube videos. That I mean, leave a comment down there and I can reply to it.
yeah, I'll post a link to your channel and then to that video as well. So you'll have no excuse for not getting advice on the GameCube from us.
Yes, totally.
All right. So again, I'd like to thank you for making some time. I know it's difficult sometimes to make some time to come and chat about this awesome system.
I know.
All right. And this has been Silver Mongoose Videos. Remember, classic gaming never gets old.
See ya.
Howdy there, youngin'. Silver Mongoose here, back again for another episode of Gaming Favorites. And today, my guest is Use Only Me Feet. I believe that's how it
Uh,
is.
no, it's only use me
Only
feed
Use Me
actually.
Feet. Ah, I've messed up already.
Want to restart?